batumiddeko bantu bange batumiddeko nnyo so bannange ebyavudde mu auction twabirabye byenjagala twogereko for just 30 to 45 minutes mbenga nkigadde oli ku mulimo. Okay, that makes sense now. That makes sense. Okay. Tukiwemu eddakiika 2-3 then tutandikira kweza abantu 10 then ndyoke ntandike mbadde nsazeewo nkole recordings ne ngamba kankole live maybe abantu abajja kumbuzaako ku bibuuzo ebimu bijja kunnyambako to figure out how to answer this whole conversation. Yeah, that's better. Batumiddeko nnyo Edgar nkutumiddeko nnyo just like the live for me, just click live for me esigaleko bulungi mujja okuba onnyambye nnyo. Let me do that. Just click the live for me there. Ojja kuba onnyambyeko nnyo tusobole okutandikira tulabe ebyavudde mu katale ka treasury bonds tubiraba tutya. With 2026 are we going to make money oba it's time for tunoonye ekibanja ewalala because the question has been bannanga akatale nga tekatambula bulungi, is it time for us okunoonya ekibanja ewalala? So just help me like the live and then we can start in 1 single minute. Okay. Enda kutandikirawo sijja kulinda abantu bangi abasinga bajja tusangayo mpola mpola. Bajja tusangayo mpola mpola naye we shall do a recording for this such that we can share it. Weekend ewedde ku Lwokusatu results za Feb zamala ne zifuluma eza treasury bonds. To so many people abatagoberera katale kano abatagoberera treasury bonds, it was shocking, extremely shocking. Results okufuluma naddala nga 20-year bond eri ku 15.49%. 10-year bond nefulumira ku 14.5%. Ezo bonds ebbiri ze ngenda okwogerako because abantu abasinga ze bettanire nnyo naddala abangoberera ennyo. Waliyo 3-year bond naye era results zeyafulumirako tezaali nnungi. So this was the Feb auction. Nga tetundaba kugenda mu Feb auction olina okujjukira ebintu bibiri nti twalinayo Jan 8th auction, ne tuba ne election on Jan 15th, ne tuba ne auction eya Jan 22nd. Katugenda okuva mu election ku Jan 15th, ne waitawo wiki emu Bank of Uganda netunda treasury bond eza Jan 22nd, netunda 15-year bond. 15-year bond ebiseera ebyo nefulumira ku 16.475. That was the lowest that bond had ever come out on 16.475 for over a 12-month period. That was an indication in the Bank of Uganda ne Ministry of Finance zaali zigenda kukola ekisoboka kyonna okulaba nti rates zikka wansi. Lwaki mu 2025 twanyumirwa nnyo treasury bond. Nina abantu bengamba if you never bought a treasury bond in 2025 wasuwa nnyo. Lwaki mu 2025 rates zonna zaali nnungi. Buli muntu bond gye yagulanga oba 20-year bond oba 15-year bond oba 25-year bond zonna zaamaliranga ziri ku 16% plus. It was absolutely really good, right? Naye ne tujja mu 2026 twakamugendako emyezi ebiri rates zikka wansi okamala obukamazi nti auction yabaddeyo this week eyafulumye twafulumidde ku eya 20-year bond. Abanyambako okulikinga live mwebale nnyo kinyambako okusigala ng'eri bulu etambula bulungi. Anyway, results zagenze okufuluma nga 20-year bond eri ku 15.49%. Okubalaga what that means is that is the lowest rate eyo bond kwe yali ebadde in the last almost 18 months. 18 months olwo tuba tuzzeeyo mu 2024. Mu July 2024 eyo bond yagenda nefulumira ku 16.5%. Fenewe twali ne tukuba enduulu ne tugamba kiki kino tugudde mu ssente. Owulidde fenna gye twali 20-year bond ya 2043 yafulumira ku 16.5. But that was the time we twamanyira nti election yesembedde kitegeeza the price egenda tandika okulinnya. Negenda ng'erinnya mpola neyingira 17 mu Jan 2025. Ne tutambula Jan 2025 ne bayisa supplementary budget ya Feb 2025 ebiseera ebyo abagijjukira. Bond rate nefulumira ku 17.5. awo nga tufuna discount ya 10% plus abantu bagamba ha bondi nga zigenda zikwata kati. So the whole of 2025 it was so good to invest. Last week Bank of Uganda nefulumya the same exact bond negifulumiza ku 15.49%. Abantu abagiguza abagijukira obulungi yafulumidde ku almost 1% discount. Eyo bond yemwe ya 20 year bond. Netugenda ku ya 10 year bond. Ya 10 year bond it was even more shocking or more painful for so many people. Naddala abayingira treasury bonds. Abalikinga live neyanzege. So 10 year bond yafuluma bagikomyawo katale oba yafuluma katale mu July w'omwaka oguwedde 2025. Nefuluma ngeri abagijjukira obulungi yafulumira ku 17.15%. Nekomawo mu September ngeri ku 17.25%. Ebbanga lyonna lyemaze ng'etunda ebadde etundira ku 17 and above. Bank of Uganda yagifulumiza ku luno ngeri ku 14.5%. Now we tunayogera 14.5%, it might not make it omuntu azo obutakitegeera kitegeeza. Abantu abaguze 10 year bond simanyi oba wano kuliko yagiguze. Abantu abaguze 10 year bond bagigulidde ku coupon eya 16.25% naye nga basasudde premium wa premium gwe basasudde nga wa 13%. Kitegeeza ku buli miliyoni gye waguze ya bond wayongeddeko wasasudde emitwalo emirala 13. That's how bad it was for the 10 year bond holders abaguze 10 year bond. Okiteba naye nga last year yonna yazze nga bond, it's very very good bond to buy. Nemala nefuluma mu Feb nga rate ziri bwezityo wansi. Kikuyigiriza ki nti 2026 agenda kaluba mukko okubagula bonds. Era omuntu yenna abadde agezaako okuyingira treasury bonds ng'obadde omanyi kyateredde buli kimu wakifunye bufunyi yesaawa okwerowoozaako n'ogamba nti rates tezigenda kubeera ng'ezibaddeyo mu 2025. Lwaki njagadde ntandikire eyo nti nkulaza olugendo nti mu 2025 waliwo nga tugenda mu kalulu tugenda mu election period kati so ng'abantu bagamba formidable forces y'aba foot soldiers nga tulowooza bagenda kutwala government tina neyanze gokulakinga live okugisobozesa okutambula nti nga tulowooza aba foot soldiers ne nupu n'abo opposition bagenda kutwala live bagenda kutwala government. So that political premium nemaliriza nga rates ziri waggulu nnyo. Okifuna nemaliriza nga rates ziri ddala waggulu nnyo ddala. Katugenda oyingira 2026 nga Museveni n'aba government bakoza ebintu byabwe ne bamaliriza nga government bagyesigaliza. Kati kitegeeza political risk, that political premium gye twali predicting eyakalulu nebeera ng'evuddewo. Kati kitegeeza ne tuddeyo ku rates eza wansi. Ekyokubiri, there are two things that have been going on which are extremely important. Kati zinjagala okufocusinga on. The first one, this week ng'etandika ku Monday mu State House ntegeeza ye Uganda, IMF chechi mu luzungu in full IMF abachimanyi International Monetary Fund, the director of the Africa Development, the Africa Bureau yali mu State House Entebbe. Era mu meeting eyo mu kafuba ako mwalimu I'm liking the live balemegisalako, mwalimu President Museveni, mwalimu Permanent Secretary wa Ministry of Finance Owekitiibwa Ramadan Gobi, mwalimu Governor Bank of Uganda, mwalimu n'abakungu okuva mu IMF. Now omuntu abetegereza ebintu ebisinga IMF teri kitongole, IMF tejjawuwo ngeze kubuuza ebiseera ebisinga egenda okujja ng'erina byeyagala otereeze nga kitegeeza either your economy is somehow struggling financially ng'erina byeyagala otereeze. Ebimu ebitera okuva mu IMF okujja kukugamba byeyo ina kukola bitera kubeera bintu bibiri. The fiscal measures, okulinnyisa omusolo ku bintu ebimu twakirabako e Kenya wano. Ekyokubiri, yo okubaako byoterezo gambe your expenditures. Kati emyaka egisembyeyo emyaka 2-3 government ebadde baji blackballing oba lwe lulimi olutuufu. Njagala mbyogere bulungi nti emyaka 2-3 egisembyeyo World Bank ne IMF zaali za blackballinga government ye Uganda ng'obuzibu buva ku ki? Ng'obuzibu buva ku tteeka ery'abali b'ebisiyaga parliament lyayisa mu 2023. World Bank ne suspending okuwa ssente government ya Uganda. Naye mu October last year World Bank neekumawo ne bakkaanya ne bakkiriziganya okutandika okuba wa ssente. Okomya okutuwa ssente nga government ya Uganda okuddamu okukola government ya Uganda. Ebintu ekyo abakitegeera kitegeeza nti ssente government zebadde yeewola ennyo mu treasury bonds ku rate eyo waggulu ennyo kati ina weesobola okuzijja ku rate eyo wansi because World Bank ne IMF ne all those international development partners they lent at a cheaper rate. Fe government yaffe je tujiwolera ku 16%, 15%, IMF ejajuwa ku rate ya 14%, ya 5%, 4%. Lwakubaza ebiseera ebisinga ziba zita concessional loan. Abanyamako kulaikinga live mwebale nnyo. So ebintu ebyo. So World Bank ne IMF wejja ekuleetera nti egenerate sente ezijja mu Uganda. Nti bagenda okukola government. Kitegeeza government tekyeyagala nnyo sente za treasury bond. Ekyo kireetera rates okukka wansi ekyo kimu. Ekyokubiri kye twayogeddeko akalulu akabaddewo that price premium y'akalulu ebaddewo egenda yaweddewo kiba kitegeeza kyo kyakubiri rates ne zikka wansi. Ekyokusatu Ministry of Finance abakungu mu Ministry of Finance abavunaanyizibwa ku economy eno they are doing everything they can to make sure nti rates tuziyite tutya abantu kwe beewolera private sector kwe yeewolera and rates ezo ziri zikka wansi. One way of making sure rates z'abantu kwe beewolera zikka wansi oyina okumaking sure rates z'omu treasury bonds zikka wansi. It's a systematic element because bossa wansi rates z'omu treasury bonds zetuyita risk free investments banks ziba zijja genda zitandika okutakinga more risk ziwola abantu naye atayagala ziwola abantu ku rate eyo wansi. Kati there is a systematic push by Ministry of Finance okulaba nti rates z'omu treasury bonds zikka wansi deliberately. Abalikinga live neyanza nnyo Darling Joel neyanza nnyo neyanzege okifuna nti baagala nnyo rates zikke wansi because eri mu 17 gye zibadde mpitirivu nnyo zirina okukomawo mu nomo 15, 14, 13%. Lwaki nkozesa ekigambo okukomawo? Wano simanyi bantu bonna abali baguze ku treasury bond benninako wano naye abantu abasinga bemmanyi batandise okugula treasury bond batandise zigula last year. Simanyi wakuliko kuno ali ku live yagula ko treasury bond mu 2023 nyinza okubeera nga ndikonzeka. Okiwulidde kibe kitegeeza mu 2023 rates zaali 13% and 14% gye ziri mu komawo inti ate ekyokubiri rate entuufu gy'olina okumanyirako nti because bw'oba owola government olina okubala ebintu bibiri and this is a political statement but I'll make it importantly. Olina okumanya nti you make money but at the same time to breaking your own country. I don't know if that makes sense. Stack neyanzege. So you make sure nti sente rates zikwe tuli eza 14%, 15% zeza bulijjo. Rates ze twabaddemu last year gwabaddemu gano. So you have to first understand that. You have to first for you to make money mu treasury bonds ekibuzo mukyabuuza njagadde tutandikireyo because 2026 it's going to be extremely important okutegera treasury bonds. Last year it was easy. Last year buli muntu yadde afuna 16%, 17%. This year 15% is going to be like a blessing. Naye gwe omuntu yenna agula treasury bond ng'oyagala okukola sente mu treasury bond manya ebintu bibiri. Ekisooka weewale 10-year bond. 10-year bond eyo erina obuzibu. 10-year bond eyo erina coupon rate ya waggulu nnyo 16.25%. Era abantu bajagala nnyo lwa nsonga eyo. Naye buli bond lwebera ne coupon rate nga ya waggulu nnyo. Naye ate nga rates za wansi omaliriza osasudde premium ya waggulu nnyo. Obaka akantu mukategedde bekise ebibuuzo ebyo ngenda kujja koleka soke nnyonnyola ebintu bino. Wa question nnyo nja kugyerabira. Nti 10-year bond eyina coupon rate ya waggulu nnyo. Yesinga coupon rate katale kano essaawa eno 16.25%. Brave lady akitegedde. Naye coupon rate yayo olwokuba nti ya waggulu nnyo mu budde nga interest rate zigenda wansi omaliriza osasudde ssente empitirivu. Abali mu kulakinga live neyanziza. Kati kitegeeza omuntu agula treasury bond mu myezi 3 ene ejijja mu maaso 10-year bond sooka ogyesonyiwe ojja kumaliriza oguze bondi ng'osasudde premium gy'ogenda okumala omwaka mulamba nga sente tozigyeeyo. Omala omwaka mulamba nga sente tozigyeeyo. Otya nti 10-year bond olaba abagiguze ku lwokusatu luno. Oli bw'aba yaguze treasury bond ya myaka 10 ya miliyoni 10 yamaliriza asasudde miliyoni 10 n'ayongeramu miliyoni 1.29. Songa bond ye yegenda musasula sente omwaka guno miliyoni 1.40. Kiba kitegeeza omwaka guno agenda kukolawo just miliyoni 2.25 oba 3. Lwaki? Nti rates zigenda wansi kati yo bond soko ogite. Oba sagala ba confusing naye simanyi oba akantu ako mukategedde kantu kakulu nnyo. Because kino eno live yemu ku live gyenjagala okusomesa abantu egeje bagenda okukola mu sente mu 2026. So si 2025. 2025 kyabadde kyangu nnyo. Kati 2026 kigenda kubeera mukko okukwata obuwongo, okukwata peni n'olupapula, okumanya ebintu bwe bitambula. So, ne tujja ku 20-year bond. 20-year bond is the perfect spot. Abakyala ekigambo ekyo bakitegeera. It's the perfect spot. Ya bondi omuntu gy'olina okugula lwaki? Yield coupon rate yayo ya 15%. Coupon rate yayo kitegeeza si ya waggulu nnyo. Ate okitegedde coupon rate yayo si ya waggulu nnyo. Kitegeeza yo kyangu nnyo okugigula ku premium omutono nnyo oba ogigula ku atpa. Atpa kitegeeza nti oyagala bondi ya miliyoni 1 n'ogigula ku miliyoni 1. Okiwulidde? Kitegeeza omuntu agula bondi mu 2026 nandikusabye n'olemera ku bondi zezi either 15-year bond oba 20-year bond. Ne 25-year bond gye tugenda okugula mu March 1 tuyinza okumaliriza nga tugisasudde ku premium. Era omuntu agenda okugula bond mu March 1 n'agamba kangende ngule 20-year bond bw'ogisanga ku premium teweewuunya akasente muteekeko akawera. Kubanga period gye tugenda okugendamu rates zigenda kubeera below 16%. Eri gye tubadde mu 17 nga tubagamba bannange mujje mugule bondi nga tubeegayirira na bwegayirizi twavuddeyo. Eno gye twazze wagenda kubeera wazibu mukko. Naye ekirungi ekiriwo nti era nga bulijjo bwenzijamba gamba nti treasury bonds zigenda sigala nga zikola sente. Ogenda kwebuuza zitya nti ogenda sigala ofuna 14%. Nga tina babuuza what do I advise right now? Jeddi nkulamusizaako mukwano gwange nnyo tatera kusuba oyo live zange. Hussein tulina okuweereza eggwanga ate munaabiyiga mutyanga tetubasomesa. Omanyi kye nazuula okukola live z'emisana ennyo nga ziriko abantu bayitirivu ziba overwhelming for me. Abantu bajja kumanya ati bayize. Naye bw'okola zino ez'ekiro osobola ofunamu quality people and they will stay longer and they will engage to each other. Nkyagala nnyo but anyway mbadde nzire ku kibuuzo kya Tina kyabuuza nti tukole tutya. gwe nali mugula treasury bond soko omanye treasury bond zotayina kugula kino kiringa kugula ttaka abettaka kiringa kugula ttaka n'ogamba nti oba yagala kugula ttaka for investment ekikuguza ekira nga nakwero wali kyekiki lwaki nti kira akuze nnyo kira takyeyongerako naye ate bw'ogenda nakasajja noteekayo n'ogulayo ka miliyoni 2 mu myaka 3 kayinza ogenda ku miliyoni 3 so ngoyinza ogenda ekira n'ogulayo miliyoni 8 mu myaka 3 nononya kuwa 9 n'abula so ne mu treasury bond eno period ya kumanya bond kizoyina okugula na bond kizotayina kugula stack neyanza nnyo okulakinga live yange kinyambako okusigala ng'etambula nti omanyaki bond gyoyina kugula ne gyotayina kugula bond zotayina kugula mu 2026 bond y'emyaka 2 muzeesonyiwe zonna ziri ku premium bond z'emyaka 3 muziveeko ziri ku premium bond y'emyaka 5 okujjako nga maybe bagikase bukasi gyesonyiwe bond y'emyaka 10 girinde mu June gisoko ogireke esooke esasule kuponi mu May because saawa eno bw'ogigula ogenda gigulira mu kuponi ate nga kuponi waayo wa waggulu nnyo ojja gigula ku premium otomerenga abatomedde kuki abasasudde premium muyitirivu muki mu wiki eno kati oli wabuuliza kati kakande tugule ki awo sigaza 15 year bond 20 year bond ne 25 year bond ezo ze bond esatu zogenda okumaliriza nga tosasudde premium oba tina ekibuzo kyo nkizeemu bulungi so large human 12% by the way saguze omanyize mbigoberera bwenagamba mbigoberera si kituufu bino mbikolamu nayogera nenga bana 10 year bond musoke mu gyesonyiwe nganjira bejja nenga 10 year bond yanyiza abantu basasudde almost 13% premium Jedi nabuuza is secondary market lucrative right now kyobuuza is it lucrative for a buyer or for a seller omanyi kintu ekyo actually kajugere nja kiddamu ekibuuzo ekyo bulungi twali ku Twitter eyo omwami omuna agamba nti bonds cannot make someone almost 20% a year in profits in a year kati gwayagala okumanya bondi bwe zikola for the next 2 minutes amatute yiga kino ne mugamba bondi tamanyi kyezikubwe zikola omuntu osobola okukola 20% a year in a treasury bond atya kastomanya when to buy and when to sell or when to execute ne muwa amagezi ne mugamba mu 2024 December nga treasury bond zingide 17.5 twagula treasury bond y'omuntu omu yali ya billion habwe nagera billion majaga ati tetuna sente kale take awo sente zo yagala zonna kankoze milioni 10 because it works ebiseera ebyo milioni 10 ngojugula milioni nga 9 mu emitwala 4 that was December 2024 mujani wa 2025 ne bamuwe emitwalo je 7 mu July ne bamwongera emitwalo 7 mu Jani ono awedde wa 2026 nga Jani wano 8 bamwongedde emitwalo je 7 kitegeeza yakafuna emitwalo milioni 2 mu emitwalo 10 eyo 21% we yagulira bondi ye yagigula ku 17.5 najigula milioni zali mwena mu emitwalo ngana esaawa eno twatandise okugitunda abayine namba yange bagimanyi na advertising on Friday tugitundira ku 10% capital gains kiba kitegeeza bondi yagula milioni 9 tugitunda milioni 10 n'omusobyo yakafuna amagoba age ga 21% agenda funa capital gains wa 10% kitegeeza ge magoba ga sente meka mu myezi 14 afunyemu almost 35% return 35% return oba kantu ako mukategedde Jedi yabuze ekibuzo ekyo ninga kankiddemu mu ngeri bwetyo abalikinga live neyanza ge mwa abasinga Kyobola nti n'ennamba zigenda zeeyongera. Nti oba akantu ako mukategedde. Nti omuntu yenna eyagula treasury bond nana neyanziza. Omuntu yenna eyagula treasury bond mu January 8th. Bantu bameka bagula bond mu January 8th. Waliyo auction before the election. Wanu bameka abagula yuko ku treasury bond before the election January 8th there. Kanda be wanu abantu abaliwo. Guys, I did. Omuyeka. Tina. Tina tasuba takyasuba auction. JD wali. Mwebali. Gwobadde okimanyi mwenna. In case sigambye nti tunda. Naye badde okimanyi nti bondi yo gye wagula mu January wano. 40 days later eyo bondi ekisobola okuwa amagoba ga 10%. Nti bwoba wagula bondi yo ya milioni 10. Esaawa eno ofunawo milioni 10 n'emu n'omusobyo. Kati ye large human yagambye he saved so much money. Kuba yagigula ku discount. Kati abategera akatale ka treasury bond. Kati eno squeeze je tulimu ya interest rate. They are selling. They are selling to make a killing, to make a profit, and wait for March. With the hope nti mu March Parliament ngetudde ekomyewo, they might pass a supplementary budget that might squeeze interest rates okuddamu okulinnyamuko. Ebimu bigenda kubuza kati 2026 tugenda kusomesa treasury bond chechi. Tugenda kuva yeri je tubadde mu 2025 nga tulinga abagamba mujje muyole kati wano twakyali kuyola. Bwoba wali okuteka ensenene fa abakulira Masaka. Mulimu ensenene lwezagwanga nga mugenda mukasoli w'omuntu otola butozi. Musawe munga akavira kajjudde oba mwali okuteka ku nsenene ng'ozijja mu kasoli w'omuntu. Eyo season yali ya mulembe. Naye ali nga lwezigwa naye ng'ate ntono nga oyina ziwenja buwenja mu muddo. Kati abatakwatanga ku nsenene bagenda gakakande ng'oli mukulu. Emyaka simito. Ng'oyina ziwenja buwenja. Kati mu 2026 treasury bonds za kuwenja. JD yabuza nti is it lucrative to buy now? Omuntu yalina ng'oyina ssente waliwo mu ekibuuzo waliwo yabuzza ekibuuzo waggulawo kinziruse n'agamba alina ssente mu unit trust kati yesaawo ziyingiza mu bond oba kyekibuuzo kyeba kyaddabuuza. Omuntu yalina ng'oyina ssente kati gula treasury bond because bwe kibanga gye tulaga nga ne ssente z'amafuta zigenda tandika okujja nga World Bank yakomyewo nga government yakafuna sente za bagita pati eno mbera bidde erinnya US Health Department jukira sente zonna zibajja mu NGO bazikozeemu a 2 billion funding through government ezo nazo ne zijja nga China etandise okuddamu okwagala okuwola ensi za Africa. Kiba kitegeeza sente za treasury bond rates zijja kutuuka ne mu 12-13% mu myaka 3 ena maaso. Kati kitegeeza gwe omuntu agula bondi essaawa eno n'ogirookinga in n'ogamba nti njiguze ku 16%, 15.5%. Ekyo kiba okimaze oba okirookinze oba omaze. Kamala okulayikinga wano kalabi baleme kasalako. Kirabe oba omaze. Oli naabuuza bannange ntunde ettaka lyange ngule treasury bond. Yes and no. Yes and no. Ekino ekintu tukikubaganyeeko ebirowoozo. Waliwo egundi message gye ndi mu kunoonya wano. Njagadde ngisome ng'oli bwe yaginsindikidde. Sijiraba banaye Mukama Katonda nnyambe nti njirabe. Sijiraba. Naye oli yagambye yagenda n'agula anaku 7 n'azigula ali Dubai awo. N'agamba mukwano gwe ali Dubai. Message eno manjagala nnyo n'enkisomera omuntu oli n'akirabako. Okay, njirabye. njagala mukawulirize kano namwe mumwe ku magezi. Good morning, Investor Pro Alex. Investor Pro, okay. Thank you for changing my mindset. I purchased my first bond in November 2025. Now I have 3 bonds. I have a 15-year bond, 20-year bond, and a 25-year bond, all valued at 15 million. The 20-year bond and the 15-year bond paid me my first coupon last month. Akomuka jukira bond ezo wezasasulira. I told my friend in Dubai about how investing in bonds works and shared my statement to prove to him that bonds are legit. But he asked me. He bought a plot of land of 70 by 40 at 14 million in 2023 after Gayaza on the road going to Osika. He would like to invest in treasury bonds, but they are giving him 15 million. And he wanted at least 17 million. Would you advise him to accept the 15 million and invest in bonds, or he should wait until he gets 17 million? I told him I will ask my friend because he has a better view than me. Omuwa magezi ki katukaddemu mu Luganda. Omuvubuka ono ali Dubai. Yajja ne twogera ne tukanya natandika olugendo. Yatandika olugendo lwe mu November. Yakagula treasury bonds 3 za milioni 15 total. Ezimu eya 20 actually zonna zimusasudde ku sente. Eya 20 fya ne ya 15 zamusasula mu Jani, eya 25 yamusasudde a week ago nga 5 ogwokubiri before Valentines. Ali mu recruiting mukwano gwe. Mukwano gwa yagula akataka eggayaza ku kkubo ly'Ebusika mu 2023 n'akagula milioni 14. Mukwano gwe saawa eno anoonya abagula afune ku sente adde mu treasury bond. Abagula baagala muwa milioni 15 n'abuuza ntunda oba situunda. Gwe bw'obeera gw'okola ki era lwaki? Tongamba buy or sell or don't sell. Mpa I sell because of a reason A oba don't sell because of a reason A. Gatsi kwentandikidde n'agamba borrow against the land. A plot ya 40 by 70 eba ndagaano tosobola kugyewolerako. Darling, why would you buy? Why would you sell the land to buy a bond? Eyo ensonga zenjagala bana nyange ndabe nti nno mbutuufu mutegera kye tugenda okwogerako. Jukira plot yagigula emyaka 223 gye myaka emeka. Myaka 13 omabega. Yagigula milioni 14. Esaawa eno anoonya namwe 17 abuza afuna 15. Gwe bw'obeera gw'okola ki? Nga bw'ompa ansa nga bw'olayikinga ne live ojja kuba onkoze bulungi nnyo etambule bulungi. Lubega Shafiki n'agamba don't sell, land is an appreciating asset. Awo Lubega Shafiki awo wenkwagala njagala osigala ennyo tugenda kwogerawo bulungi. Owulidde? Waliwo agambye I do the math. Owa math tugenda banaye leka ebibuuzo ebimu bijje ku mbeera obijjira neme kukyerabira. Leka twogere ku kintu kino because omuntu alese ku kyettaka. So omuntu alina ettaka Joan agambye I would rather sell and invest in a bond. Lwaki? Namugambye bw'afuna amuwa milioni 15 atunde. Zino z'ensonga zange 3. Ensonga esooka bondi ye si bond ettaka lye yagula ana ku nsanvu yaligula milioni 14. Waisewo emyaka 3 katugambe aliagala milioni 17. Tukkirize nti value yayo ya milioni 17. Tukkirize nti asobola n'ofuna mu 17. Kitegeeza buli mwaka emukoledde milioni emu. Eyo return yenkana eti abalina ku calculator mu mbalire. Eyo return yenkana ki? Owulidde? Eyo return yenkana ki? Gwe bw'okwata milioni wantu okuguze milioni 14. Ntugambe nga totunza kizibu because watotunza kizibu ne 17 zo nonyazi kuwa nabula. Kiba kitegeeza return the greatest abuza return based on what? Kusente ze wagula jukira ettaka waligula milioni 14. Buli mwaka likolera milioni 1. Eyo return ya 7%. Bwiribanga, of course 7% it's appreciating, but you are making 7%. Eri ettaka litunde. Eri ettaka tewebulankanya eryo litunde ojje milioni zo 15 oziteke mu bond ye y'emyaka 10 egenda okuwa almost 15%. Buli mwaka bobo olitunze milioni 15. Buli mwaka otisi ogenda kukola milioni 2 n'omusobyo. Actually tukibalebalemu. Kankwatu wano kali kyeta sagala lero ku presentinga. Nti bobo milioni 15 n'ogula ettaka n'ogula bondi ye nnungi. Buli mwaka ekuwa milioni zo kumpi 2 mu emitwalo 10. Kitegeeza ogenda itawo emyaka 5 ng'ogyeyo milioni zo 10 eri ettaka terigenda kukula ku eyo speed. Kati oyo omuntu atunde. Kati oyo ettaka atunde. Kati waliwo yabuze ekibuuzo kino mweno comment simujjukira bwoba oli siroza nti ba answer yonji kuwadde bulungi. Gwe wenna ayina ettaka lituuleko libale ogambe dikula litya nga sinaba kuvaayo kati kankulage ate omulala gwe nagaanyo tunda. Abantu abasinga abamanye bukeerere takula. Bukeerere ng'ekifo. Simanyi bantu bameka abayina ettaka ebukeerere. Bukeerere ng'ekifo kigaanyo okula. Naye ate ebbeeyi y'ettaka ly'ebukeerere erinnya enkya n'eggulo. Somehow somewhere it's otuuka ebukeerere n'ogamba oli luddawa. Weka kiritunda naawe. Weka kiritunda. Naye ebukeerere ettaka likula. Abantu bali mugulayo buguzi. Neti bali mu kuzimbayo. Oba balinze babagamba nti Jinja Express weyinza okuyita side eyo. Kati kikyali awo. Kati mulimu ettaka lyogenda okuba nalyo. Nga mbutuufu buli mwaka waligula milioni 15. Nga buli mwaka ligatako milioni 3. Mondeke nnyo ku mazzi wano. Emiro gitandise okukalira. Gazi neyanzege. Nti mulimu ettaka lyogenda okugula. Abali mukulayikinga live neyanziza temukyalayikinga bajja gisalako. Tunyumya naye n'okunyumya kinzizaamu amaanyi. Mulimu ettaka lyogenda okugula. Nga wayitewo emyaka 2, 3 ng'olaba value yeeyongerako. Naawe okiraba. Nga naawe okiraba wateekawo milioni 10. Olaba ziri mu milioni 13, 14. Ng'osobola n'okuzijjayo mu bwangu. Mulimu ogula ettaka milioni 3 nga buli mwaka olaba ozirinnya milioni 3, 3, 3, 4. Naye oli awo wagula ettaka ab'emaya eyagula emaya mulimu be batwala ebuwama ne babaguza andi ekibuga kipya bakibaguza 223. Omwami wange Lugonvu mwagala nnyo, is a very enterprising man. Musajja, his heart is in the right place. Omwami Lugonvu kanakado banakasalako bajja kasalamu bakamumpeere. Lugonvu musajja mukozi. Musajja, his heart is in the right place. It's just that product yemu za promoting anaddala eyettaka lyatunda emaliriza mbutuufu. It's not the right product. Lwaki? Nti ayina ebibuga byateekawo ku lw'Masaka Road n'abagamba za satellite cities. Satellite cities ez'amaanyi. Abaana ne bagula ebyapa mu 2023, 2024. Ekirungi bye Lugonvu ekyapa kyo ajja kikuwa. Lugonvu ekyapa kyajja kikuwa, tagenda kubba kyapa. Naye oguzeewo ettaka milioni musanvu wayisewo emyaka 4 onoonya akuwe 10 n'abula. Lwaki? Mwayingira munda eyo kilomita ziri 7 mwenna ne mwesala ebyapa mwenna muli Dubai. Mwenna teri yali mu kuzimbayo. Tewali mukula. Bamasanyalaze babagamba nti wali mukula because baleeta amasanyalaze. Naye amasanyalaze in 2026 it's not the form of development. Amasanyalaze kati gali buli wamu. Abantu abaguze mayaawo oliba kati baliwo abantu abali mu kugamba maya bagazize kubo maya agenda kulinya. Maya ne 222 bamutunda bali batunda kubo eryo. The Masaka Expressway. Kati ne 226 kibali mu kuyombera. Kitegeeze yamugula mu 226 nzo kwa yatomera oba gwagenda omugula mu 226 gwagenda okutomera. So mulimu ebifo nga bobaamu ne plot ng'okiraba kiri strategic. Mulimu ebifo nga mbutuufu bw'okiraba naawe ogamba kino sikivaako. Era nange bwonna gye wange nja kugamba that plot of land eyo gisigaze. Sina kindi njana kugamba gula. Ewantu awo nja kugamba gulawo. Abali mu like live neyanze. Nja kugamba ewantu awo gulawo lwaki? Gwe kennyini naawe olabawo waliwo value. Value yaawo olaba wakula. Olw'ensonga emu oba endala. Naye ebifo ebisinga mulimu plot abantu ze mulina nga Yesu zijja kula. Naye nga wantu wali miliyoni 3. Ogenda kutwalira emyaka 10 oba 12 okuyingira miliyoni 6 okudabolinga sente zaawo. Incredible neyanze. Ewantu wagenda okutwalira emyaka 10 okudabolinga sente awo nja kugamba tunda treasury bond yo. Tunda bond yo ogule. Tunde ettaka lyogule bond. Ate omuntu akugambe Alex waliwo akateka kano mbutuufu muganda wange omuntu yakatunda kula yisi mu mwaka gumwe nakujjayo sente awo nyala kugamba tunda ne bond ogule ettaka oligule. Kamba bulire example. Omanyi ebbanga lyemmaze nga nkola this financial advisory mulimu ebintu byenjize. Wiki ebbiri ezisembye emabega I was forced to think about something I never thought I would think of. Era guno gwegenda okusooka okukyogerako in an open engagement. Omukyalo omu yajja n'angamba Alex 223 twali ku Twitter yogitasho okwogera. Tutandika okwogera natandika okugula treasury bond ze n'abaka akasente kafuna akawera n'agula treasury bond. Neziwera. Esaawa ena ina miliyoni zeebi 3. Mukyala single mother. Kati bulijjo bwe mbadde online nga nnaku zino ezisembyeyo nga njogera nnyo ku treasury bonds versus land versus house lindako okukola n'okola kinagamba. Najja nambuuza ekibuzo n'agamba Alex sirina nju. Sente zenfuna mu treasury bond mbutuufu nziraba zikola ki? Zigenda ziwera because afuna miliyoni 45 omwaka. Naye bwe neewola sente nga nkozesa treasury bond yange nga security nengena nengula ennyumba yange wali miliyoni 15. Bond nemala emyaka gino nga yesasula enju yange mba siri bulungi. Nange we nali natula nenkwata ekibalo nenzikiriza nti mbutuufu amagezi muliro bwe gakuggwako ganona wa mukwano client yeyampa I'd always thought about it. You can borrow money using treasury bonds. I always known it and I encourage it. Naye yakintete nga this idea nakintete in a very straightforward manner. Nabala ntinda yetaga enyumba gyabala nga gyetaga miliyoni 10 mwaga. Nabala nti bwe yewola gundi mu myaka 6 asacrifice kuponi ze zokka mu myaka 6 myaka 7. Ezo kuponi ze zigendo sasula enjuye. Akitegedde ojja kumanya lwaki bulijjo mbagamba nti mubo kyali muto teeka sente wantu wava sente. Akategedde akantu ako ojja mmanya lwaki. Darling Joel neyanze. Kanka baddiremu. Banange munyameko like nga live baleme jinsa lako obesigala okutambula bulungi. Kanka ddemu bulungi. Twatudde wansi. omuntu alina bondi ze azimaze emyaka 2 nga agula milioni 3 naye yatuse ku level naga kati neetaaga enju yeetaaga enju official neyanzege nga yeetaaga enju nagamba nanga ne Alex waliwo zino enju ze batunda bwe neewola ku sente zange nga nkoza treasury bond nga security neewola nengula enju yange nenkosa coupons nga nsasula nga bwesasula enju mba sisinga ne tukibala abalamu omwaka afuna milioni 45 mu myaka 2 ze milioni 9 mu myaka 4 ze milioni 18 myaka 5 ze milioni 220 naga bwafuna loan ya milioni 15 mu myaka 5 aba amazo gisasula kiba kitegeeza mu myaka 5 ajja kuba n'ebintu bibiri ajja kuba ne bondi ajja kuba n'enju naye lwaki kiba bwe kityo nti yasooka n'ateeka sente mu kintu ekivaamu sente kati ekintu ekivaamu sente kye kiri mu mugulira enju so singa yasooka teeka sente mu nju enju teyandi mugulidde bondi Edgar ayogedde ekintu ekituufu actually that most commercial banks prefer bonds as security ate nga kituufu omuntu bwogenda ne treasury bond nga security bakuwa 16% 17% interest ate tebakubira tebakubanja babanja Bank of Uganda mwe mukanya nti kuponiza ngeze emyaka 7 mutwaleko ezo bone basigala kuli babanja Bank of Uganda gwengeriwo ko saloniyo gwenge bisigadde ebintu ebitambula so n'olwekyo ne muguno omulembe ebintu ebimu byogenda okwebuuza ogenda kugamba tina ayogedde wano bank actually naku zino kasita ogula bondi ne suka milioni 10 banka yekunoonya okuwa sente ekugambi atukwaye milioni 8 atujja twala kuponizo zokka for 7 years no bagamba nezo zereze mwagala okumpiika mwagala nzikozese eki kati ate fa abategeera treasury bonds kye tukola nazo oluzituwanga tuddayo tugula bondi endala mu banka endala ngeri bondi yetandika okutusasula kati nina bondi 2 bano nga batwala kuponiza emyaka 3 nze wano ngeno zinja kuzeeno after 4 years nga zonna nzigata olwo nina gundi ezi gazi n'agamba nti akategedde kyayagala okukola abantu omulembe guno 2026 tugenda kukwatamu ebintu mu ngeri tugenda bikwata mu ngeri ya bwongo omuntu yenna ayina milioni 3 mu bond nyinza okubanga abali wano mulowooza sente zenjogera nyingi abantu bazirina mu bonds milioni 3 terina loan gyatasobola kufuna nga bondi tesobola gisasula tebakukubira nakukubira gwe toli mu default risk because gwe tebabanja Bank of Uganda buli mwezi biwambiri myezi 6 ne bakusalako ne basalako akasente ne nosasula bondi yo 2 days owulidde so anyway ekyo mbadde mu kibuuzo ebibuuzo ebisinga mbyerabidde badde abantu badde bayinamu mujja bikomyawo mpolampola naye n'abalayikinga live neyanzege ekikulu ekibadde kyembadde ngezako okukulaga kitya nti ekintu ne 2026 wadde rates zigenda zikka wansi naye rates zikyali nnungi for you to make money. Someone said the 10-year bond was discounted. No, it was not discounted. Babuza abaguze 10-year bond mu Feb. It was premium. Chebaba koze basasudde 13% premium. Nakati bakyakaaba. Abamu baade tebakirabangako. Nina mukwano gwange nnyo twakolanga naye edda myaka nga nakatandika my career mu finance. Yankubya nga Alex. bondi ng'entuuzi ng'enkoze bubi mbisazeemu sente nziggyeko ne mwatoziggyako bajja kukuba fayini eri ebanga agreement kkiriza nti kyakulidde nanga ne 13% nene namugamba yes 13% nene naye now you are paying for school fees to learn what treasury bonds is. So going forward ojja kusokanga weebuuza okubire kakande should I buy the 10-year bond or not or 15-year bond or not. Nkukolere perspective nkugambe nti right now in the treasury in the secondary market rate ziri bweziti bw'onaaziraba awo omanyi ogambe kati wano nkoze ntya. Waliwo omwami akomentera nnyo ku video zange ate alaga ebintu abimanyirwa kuba nti waliwo akakyabulamu. Maze kulaba bbaani wano ne mujjukira nti balina engagement a few days ago. Yagese n'agamba nti rates ziri mu kudropinga because tuzimarketinze nnyo kati abantu bazettanidde kati kitegeeza zirina okuka wansi. It's because of the demand and supply. Komenti y'abamu baagirabyeko ku video emu. Ekintu ekyo si kituufu. Abali mu kulakinga live neyanzege. Rates ziri mu kuka wansi lwa bintu bisatu. Rates ziri mu kuka wansi because akalulu kawedde. Akalulu ako kaleetera rates okulinnya. Abajjukira nga tina bayogedde ne Kenya bwe kyali. Ekyokubiri, World Bank yakomyewo katale. World Bank yabadde yali yatugoba nga tekyagala tuwola. Yatugoba mu 2023 bwe twayise etteeka lya Anti-Homosexuality Act. Abalijjukira mulijjukira. Okifunye netugoba kati yakomyewo. Ekyokusatu, sente government zetandise okulowooza okufuna mu mafuta. Ezo sente zetandise okujja, sente zijja mu mwanyi zijja, sente zijja mu gold zijja. Kitegeeza appetite yayo ey'okwewola egenda ekendeera. Kyekireetedde ne government deliberately erina okukomyawo rates okukako wansi. Eri gye zibadde mu 17 kibadde waggulu nnyo. Kati wano mu 14 we tulina okubeera. It has nothing to do with the demand and supply. Now, ekyokubiri, I'm guilty for promoting treasury bonds. I love them. They have made me enormous amount of money. But I promote them to the retail investors. Retail investors, Yegwenange, Medi, Tina, Jerusalem, Yemwe. Inze nawe, bondi zetugula za bilioni 5 bilioni. Okay, bwetwogera bilioni anoja era sente nyingi. Naye ebitongole biri ebinene bigula bilioni 2-3. Ebyo bulijjo bondi bizimanyi. Era bikyagula. Kiba kitegeeza bali kyovola abanene ezo banks bazita the market makers. Market makers kitegeeza they set their own price. They control the market. Kati nze ne ngamba inti my love manyi mulina amanya butuka pronouncing abantu bayinza okutugamba kikyoliko nti omuntu my love ndinya ndisoma busomi bannange Perezi nkulamusizza erinya asoma some nti bugamba nti my love oguze bondi ya milioni 10 naye sente ezo obadde otereka mu banka yeri mugula ki ye badde ekosa sente zo gula ki treasury bond ngate yo yekosa sente zo kati the promotion the creating the awareness you create the awareness ku bantu bamanye nti mu 2025 2026 going forward tekako sente zo mu treasury bonds tekako sente mu treasury bonds zijja kukolera sente. Ze nsobola okukakasa ebintu bibiri. Ekisooka kuba teri muntu yali aguze treasury bond n'azimalamuko emyaka ekitono nnyo 2 n'akola oluusi bye tubalagira bakole n'akomawo n'agamba Alex wantomeza taliyo. waliwo tulinawo billionaire aliwa soko omunda geko maiba tugaba ku live ku TikTok kuno kuliko abantu abagaga oyinza okugwa ku TikTok toginyoma kuliko abayitirivu na buli kimwe naye mu myaka ebiri gyokka ojja kuba omaze billionaire Irene wuyo mulegede mu myaka ebiri gyokka ojja kuba omaze okumanya treasury bonds bwe zikola oli wabuuliza nti nguleko ne mu Kenya bw'oba osobola. By the way, Kenya, it's people preach about diversification. Uncle Monkula Musiza UK Gambetia. Boba people preach about diversification. Diversification is not about products alone. It can be even about geography. Geography linaga nti nze kaneri nnyo ne mmotoka ngende Kenya wano ng'agenza okusuubula ebintu byange nzigulewo bank account nzigulewo ebintu nga 2-3 ntandika okugula ku treasury bonds ze Kenya. Abaana bange baligenda ne bali akuzeeyo. Omuntu ali e UK n'agamba wano we mandi UK Equity Bank lwenajja okwogera ne bana Kenya nange kangende nzigulewo banka yaabwe ngule ku treasury bonds ze Kenya. Holiday. So it's absolutely allowed. Glorious nagamba nti Kenya genda mu kalulu mu 2027 banatera okugenda mu kalulu era bantu baagala kudduka gula ku treasury bonds ze Kenya. Naye Kenya mu mwaka gumu 1 year 2025 abantu bakoze sente mu their stock market nange wendi nempulira ngo olubuto lunnuma mu mwaka ogwo 2025 agenda okutandika nga akatale ka Nairobi Stock Exchange konna awamu Oscar Kampala nkulamusizzaako muganda wange njagala nnyo emirimu gyo gy'okola osala bwe nabeera mu Kampala nja kujja nange onjiwemuko ka Oscar Mene akasuuti ebisese mu mulenda nga basajja nga bwe tuzimba eggwanga. Anyway, Kenya 2025 yatandika nga kale kabe kali ku 2.1 trillion eze Kenya. Omwaka gugenze okuggwako nga kali ku 3.2. Kitegeeza buli muntu yenna yagula Kenya markets, Kenya stocks by making the over 30% return in 1 year. Ate omuntu waba yalonda the right stocks or the right companies, they are in 50-60%. Chovala 2026 namutandise njagala nnyo abantu bayige how to buy stocks and shares. Naddala abantu abayina ku ssente. Naddala abantu abali mu diaspora. Alex ne yanzo okulakinga live baleme kasalako akantu kaffe. Abantu abali mu diaspora mwagale nnyo treasury bond, mwagale nnyo stocks and equities. Abantu abali mu diaspora mwagale nnyo Iketi ne yanzege. Mwagale nnyo equities. Zijja bakolera sente. Omuntu ali mu diaspora, omuntu ali e Kampala ng'oyina kasente genda ogulewo interactive broker. Zenda bagamba kuno 2025 tugenda kusomesa bond abantu mwalandiso ziga tulete ne equities. Vamu ebyo ebintu bya sigama nti tebifuna ebya FX bifuna ababitegeera, but that is trading. You literally cannot sleep. Genda wakiri ogule shares, ogule S&P. Bagala tusalako mbalaba banaye munyameko mulayikinge ku live. Okay, nkomyewo. Hai lino linnyachi. My mind doing good. My mind doing good. Yes. Omuntu ali mu US, actually webale nnyo kubuza ekibuuzo ekyo. Kankitereezeemu. Omuntu ali mu US. Interactive broker Jason Yue. Genda for Fidelity, genda for Charles Schwab. Ezo again, Robin Hood, even Cash App these days, I think it has. Omuntu ali mu US, genda for Fidelity, the best of the best. Their fees are down. Omuntu ali mu UK, genda for eToro, genda for Fidelity International, it will make you money. Girls, first gift ever sent. Nzani, kanywemu olwekyo bannange. Mumpere girls ku bugalo. Olusi tujano tulekana. Abantu basimako mu ngeri bwetu naffe kituzaamu amaanyi, by the way. Kituzaamu amaanyi nti abantu basima kye tukola. Nammwe abalikinga live nammwe tusiimira ddala nammwe mba mutulaze nti twongere okujja okuinterakinga naye tuddeyo ku kye tubaddeko. Omuntu ali outside the country, you have so many opportunities zosobola okugulamu equities. One thing that is extremely important, nti tandika okugula equities. They will make you money. Nebo batomanyi how to choose which equities to buy, and which is okay. Fenati tusobola kumanya. Just buy the simple ETFs. Gula ETFs. Just go buy S&P 500. Go buy S&P 500. Uganye guleyo. The S&P 500 in the last 10 years, it is a total of 362% return. Teams that ugambye taxes on Robin Hood are so high. Kati yojite. Tweyanza nyo teams. Holiday. Gula S&P 500. S&P 500. Kamba we mu stories tuzikozesa okuziwa abantu okubako kye bazigamu, because for us we get an expression of so many people. Wiki ewedde, I had chenyizo kugamba one of my top 10 clients ever, and nakabera mu mulimo guno emyaka egiwera 5. Naye I believe is my top 10 client. And echimuteka mba top 10 nememba I cannot put him anywhere, but I would say you can be in the top 10. Nti yangamba ekirabo kyali yagala okuwa Valentine nga Valentine's yali Saturday wedding nga mukyala we yali money conversation. Koze katuje tuogere na asasula ebisale byange nitutuula ku gundi conversation. Ntuuka ku yali ku Google, ntuuka ku Google ng'aleese batabani be bonna batudde ku line kapata mwena mutereere muyina okusoma. Teyaŋŋamba ebyo nti abaana agenda baleeta. Yaleeta abaana ng'omukulu wa myaka 19, omuto wa myaka 11. Omuntu bamujja na ku games yali azanya game ngamba oyina okugibeeramu era n'agituulamu. N'agamba Alex family yange nangireese bayigirize. Era tumalirizo tugenda okuvaawo ng'abaana bayize nti waakiri bo bagenda kugula ETFs. Oyo omuto nuga tumugule ETFs simple. Because yaina omwana omuto namugamba omwami oyo ali mu UK. Bwaba ku live eno kwali mutumiddeko naye solo zanti kwali nalibadde mulabi. Nemugamba omwana ono omuto ekitinyi ne bwobagatta bonna n'oggulawo company n'oggulawo LLC nemutandika okuinvestinga nga family. Igweza okuba essaawa eno bwe weetunulamu tolina even a millionaire in dollar terms. N'agamba mbutuufu era siri. Nene mugamba naye bwe mubooneegatta n'obatandikira olugendo lwa investments. Bwe kataligirya family yene erivaamu millionaire mu myaka 2 okuva kati oba 3 okuva kati. Ne mugamba nti gwe bw'olabanga emyaka 2 okuva kati egyewala, ono omwana muto the youngest wa myaka 11 mu myaka 2 okuva kati ajja kubeera myaka 31. Kiba kitegeeza olugendo lwozimbye waakiri luzimbire nga the future kizimbidde ku the youngest. Bw'alibeera millionaire yonna gy'oliwo kyali ku nsi olyebaza Mukama n'ogamba Mukama oliisa bw'oba musiraamu oliisa engalo mu maaso ga Mukama kati nziza kwebaza. Bw'oliba mu ggulu nga gwakaza engoye oba mpewo ekaza engoye nga batugamba, you will be contented because whatever your dream will be, you would have achieved it through your kids. Why I put that gentleman in the top 10 of my clients, and I've served almost a million, I've served almost 10,000, like 1,000 clients plus paid clients. Inti. Yamanya nti ebintu bya sente. Si yekaya ino biga ya leta abana be. Na leta abakulu, na leta n'omuto. Na mutuuzaawo, na mugambe bibuuzo mu bibuuzo. Kiba kitegeeza gwe naali kuno. Ng'oyina omwana. Bimuyigirize. Mbana myaka 13, myaka 14 bibayigirize. Bibayigirize muganda wange bajja biga. Gwali e Bulaaya omwana mugulirewo account omutereko nina nkoza nnyo examples zino ez'abantu because they are relatable. These are life examples. My number one client, oyo at least yekimanyi is number one. Temumbuuza lwaki ye number one. Tina siye gwe. Naye my number one client tutambudde olugendo naye for 3 years. 3 years. We discuss almost every single day about money matters. Tacha ansasula bwe buzibu bwe enako zonacha oba ku live kwali kankebere ayinza obaiza kwali nakolaki nasidi nga lwaki oli mukunjogerako. Tacha agala kunsasula kati ajabuzi for my information, free information. Taliko. Naye akugamba nti gladiator ko akugamba twali twogere nako zonagamba ngenda tani kugulira mutabani wange ETFs eza Asia konze eza lwaki ogula za Asia muuliriza akantu kano munyabe ko like ka live kasigalenga katambula nagamba buli lwotunulira buli company ena gyomanyi nti nene etunulidde Asia nti wadde America eri mukola cent ne literally Asia is the future for the next 10 years. Company za ITs manyiro ya minerals simanyi biki ziri Hong Kong ziri China ziri Taiwan ziri Vietnam ziri ezensi ziri mukulira ku 20%. Mloza Uganda ekula South Korea ziri mukula on a supersonic speed. Kitegeeza even their companies are growing very fast. Atezo companies zawe zensi zituse mu level tezikyagwa tezikyakoma weno wansi wa Uganda. They have made their political issues clever, like in a good way. Nikikuyigiriza ki muganda wange? Yes, the risk were billionaire zikakanya. Teturimu si Asia butogera Asia, Saudi Arabia jijemu. Saudi Arabia agomafuta. Asia togera zitita pure Asian tigers. Saudi Arabia is Middle East. Nagamba in the next 10 years there is a chance that the ETFs in South Asia they will outcompete and outperform S&P 500. And in the last 3 years, they have been outperforming it. Echirunchogula ETFs za Asia. Inti, you're not buying one company. At least for them, you're buying like 1,000 companies. You're buying a company in China, a company in Japan, a company in South Korea, a manufacturer in Vietnam, a manufacturer in Singapore, Indonesia, zona. Ochulide. Kati omuntu ayina obwongo bwati omanya ategedde kyakola agamba mulimu ebintu byogamba nze mmanyi bintu bino mbize nnyo emyaka 45 nyizo obanga sikyasobola kudda mabega naye kambi kanzimba omusingi nguzimbire mutabani wange oba muwala wange insha Allah ne bwendi bamagombe aliyebazanaga mama yanzimbira omusingi kati gwe webuliza mutabani wo kiki oli mumukolera. Kati gwe omuntu ali e Bulaaya, omuntu ali e Dubai, mikwano gyange abali e Saudi Arabia. Ebisebyo bulembera ku live mulimu ebintu byetera okunyumira wadde sera byogerako. Mulimu comment bontu bolabanga bali mu going after each other, they are engaging, bali mu exchanging. Waliwo conversation eri mu kutambula awo. Abagigoberera bali mu gigoberera. Very good engaging, and I just be reading it you see young. But why? The more we engage, the more we learn. The more we engage, inze bisene ebisingano ojja kumuzana ekibuzo nemena kinera birino okukyerabira okukiddamu ne waliwo ajja okukiddamu awo mu comment section. So ebisene ebisinga, people who always reply people mu comment section nebaza nnyo ne yanzege, and such conversations I read them. So billionaire ne ERK, I'm seeing your interaction. Anyway, kibuzo kiki nabaddeko kati ate bannange nange I get distracted. Kati kibuzo kiki mbaddeko kibadde nina okuddamu. Madde ni ku kintu kya diversification. Ekino ekya bond kyo twakitadde wali abamu twategedde nti zikola. Kati buli aguze ku bond tumuga kati yingira equities. Bw'oba tosobola kuyingira equities, yingira ETFs. Gwaliye Kampala, your best app is Interactive Broker. Gwaliye Dubai, your best app is Interactive Broker. Naye Dubai eyo bw'oba oli mu kiyumba ebegenda kusumbuwamu, saagala kulimba, twakigezezaako ne kigaana. Lwaki? Interactive Broker kyesinga okwagala is to verify your location, you as a person and your location. Sorry guys. Baagala nnyo ng'omuntu w'oli wo. Ne basabanza n'okusaba ne bagamba nti tusindikire biru y'amasannyalaze oba ey'amazzi ng'eri mmanyago. Kati gwali mu kiyumba simanyi biru gy'oba ogenda basindikira. Naye mwe abali mu US muyina Fidelities, the Swabs, the Vanguards, all those are very, very, very good. Ezo tewetaaga na kujja mu bino mu Interactive Broker. Interactive Broker is for international people. Go for Fidelity, it has a lower loss, a lower expense ratio and a faster turnaround time. Gwalia Uganda kati diversification yetu yingira equities. Oli wabulize wedalo wabuza nti njogere ku Zeno. Zeno is a unit trust. Unit trust mbadde tuzogeddeko. Investing mu unit trust is a Uganda. It's the same as investing in treasury bonds. Olokwa twade tulikwogera ku diversification. That's the same product. But the unit trusts are really good. They are very good for two reasons. The first reason, for liquidity, and two, abantu abalina akasente akatono. It's easy to enter. Very, very easy to enter. Very, very easy. Katwanirizeyo ku bibuuzo, abantu abamu bayinza balina ku bibuuzo wano. Adduse. User yani user 231 something. User kwoli
muganda wange Kakande
wanji
we bali kusomesa
kale
omanyi teri mulimo muzibu nnyo nga kusomesa byanfuna.
Ogeza n'okyogerako waliwo omwami wano ansindikidde message olwaleero n'agamba nti yamala emyezi 6 nga buli video zange lwazirabako aziyitako buyisi paka lumu yakeera n'agamba naye ono asomesa afuniramu wa asazeewo okuwaayo obudde bwe n'atandika okuziwuliriza. Mwami ali Germany awo walakoze onaga birimu nno omulamwa munaga kati kagezese kangole ka bondi kamu n'akagula mu December ne bamusasula mu January. Okuva olwo kati yatandise okugamba abantu bannange musasule.
Akagula wa mu government ya Uganda. Actually leka nkubulire. Omuntu yenna Uganda bali used to what we call feasible tangible investment strategies. Gendo ozimba amayumba naye nga rate of return ne span of time nene nnyo okufuna rate of return ejjayo sente ze wateekamu. Kati bino by'osomesa abantu abasinga babigwiriddemu ekigo because of poor knowledge. How to exactly invest, what is the purpose and structure of investment, and then the monitoring tools ezisobola okuyamba okumanya nti nyimiridde ntya nfunye ntya bbanga lino, especially nga bwe mbadde njawo okuga nti kati omuntu alinga mu US ayagala okuinvestinga ogambye agende ku Fidelity. What does he look at which can reduce his anxiety on risk but propagate his trajectory in profit?
Engeri gy'okibuuzizaamu omuntu wa US, manyi US eina even much better products. Now, bwe mba njogera to invest on the US market, nenjogera ku Fidelities biki zenkoma kungulu nti Equities will make money. Naye waliwo azisinga otegeera how to make money through other products even for tax purposes. Gundi wange mulabye mukama wange nkulabyeko kwoli manyi woli lwaki tojja n'osooka n'oyisizaamuko abantu ali waka munoonye uno mufunye. Sherry aliwa Sherry olazeewa
Oba badde ayisaamu.
Wuuyo waali wali lwaki saagadde kukimuddamu mbadde njamuddamu naye ngezanga ansingako ku ekyo naddala ku muntu ali mu US waali omanyi okimulamu omanya nti ono akitegeera naddala omuntu ali mu US ajja kikunyonyola and you understand na advantages eziri mu buli product. Kati Sherry otuwulira?
Yes, nkuwulira kati. Sorry about that.
Omwami yabadde n'ekibuuzaawo for specifically for the US people basobole okukifuna answer obulungi.
Oh, kangene nkisome n'akatuuka.
Gibuuziza bubuuza agiddemu.
Oh, okay.
Okay, I don't know where you are, but where I am, it's good evening. It's coming to 5. And my interest in investment, especially on specific products, as a person who is in the US, I'm asking where can I put my money and I reduce my anxiety to risk, but propagate my profit levels either in short term and long term. Where could you advise me to look at, especially given the volatility of the US dollar vis-a-vis what is going on?
Yeah.
I hope I'm very clear.
So, yes, I may ask some clarifying questions, but are you investing just from a general standpoint or are you investing for retirement?
Since I do not have a specific date to retire, I don't want to over superfrise myself into retirement. I am talking about a general investment that could be short term, maybe 5 years, 4 years, depending. So I
Okay.
don't want to tag myself on retirement because that's an English word which is I'm very African. I don't want to go into what is it?
Okay. Well, I will correct those who are listening, just for the sake of correction, is that it doesn't matter how far you are from retirement. I'm in my 20s and I've been investing for retirement for 10 years, and I probably have no chance of retiring anytime soon. So, for those that are listening, the best time to start investing for retirement is the moment you start working, right? It doesn't matter if you're going to invest to retire in 2050, 2080, start now. So, sorry, I didn't get your name, but the reason I was asking is because I wanted to understand what investment vehicle to first place you in. As you know, in the United States, the taxable situation is pretty different. So, depending on what you're investing for, there's a specific vehicle for that. If you said you were investing for retirement, I would say put your money in a Roth IRA and a 401k. and then we'll talk about what to invest in those accounts once your money is there. If you are investing for anything else other than that, I would say brokerage account. If you are not investing per se, but putting money away, let's say for emergencies. I think you mentioned something short term. That would be like a high yield savings account, which is not exactly an investment account, but it's a savings account with interest.
High yield account.
High yield savings account, yes. So that's kind of why I was asking, because the answer could go in any
I know.
direction depending on your specific interest.
Okay, can we talk about retirement? Probably in that level, because I've seen the rest could be a little bit tricky given the span of time involved. So talk about retirement.
Alex, can I
Do
just
you
cut you out
work?
short a little bit before, because I'm just going to tell you something very small. Sorry to interrupt. The person who is asking about is the things, the first aims you should know. Why are you investing? What is the point? Why are you doing it? What is the it you have to be knowing and doing this for this and this, not just investment is not for short term. You don't invest. If you are going in for short term, please just go in high yield accounts. Investment is very good with people age. If you invest when you're very young, that's the best. It doesn't matter even if you invest when you're old, you are better in the you are better in the market other than being out of the market. So if you say, oh, I want to do it for 5 years, my love, you won't get it is not a vehicle to become rich quickly. Investment takes time. So you have to be knowing what exactly are you going to do. Are you ready to take time to invest? And if you invest, people who stay longer in the market get it. You're not a trader. So that's the first basic thing you should be knowing.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Tina.
Yep.
Go
Thanks,
ahead.
Tina.
Okay.
So, sorry, what can I call you? I can't see your full name on the screen. I like saying people's names when.
Greatest genius.
Okay, Mr. G. I'll just go with that, Mr. G. So you said retirement. So let's talk about retirement. Do you have a 9 to 5? Do you have a job that's employed through an employer, not self-employed? If you don't mind
Yeah,
me asking. Okay.
yeah.
Does your job offer a 401k?
Most likely, yes.
Are you investing in that 401k?
Um, no.
Okay, I would start there. That is a very, very big concern.
Possibility.
Yeah, a lot of people, and I'll mix Luganda and English. I know today's audience is pretty big, but a lot of people from our background, a lot of immigrants come here and they don't invest money in the 401k because twagala check here for tujifudenga we tujikoze. If you earn $4,000 a week, you want to earn your 3,500 after taxes, and the 401k takes away some of that money. I say tomorrow is Monday. Call your HR, email them, ask them to enroll you in that 401k if they haven't already.
Okay.
While you're at it, I need you to ask about a company match and see if your company has a company match. What a company match is, your company will say for every dollar that you put into your 401k, we will match it up to a certain percentage. The range is usually 3 to 8%. Free money.
Okay.
So I would call your HR company, ask them to send you like like a pamphlet or like an internal website. Make sure you get information about the 401k. And I noticed someone in there said 401k is not good for short term. Free money is free money, right? Because the thing is, even if your plans are to leave the country and go back to Uganda, your 401k can stay and keep growing until you're ready to take money out of it. So the first thing I would say is invest in a 401k no matter your age.
Okay.
Secondly,
Just in between there. So
mhm,
just in case happen to switch, does it stay stand? I can back it up in another job or something like that.
yes, you can roll it over. So let's say you have a 401k and you work for Apple, and next year you get a job working for Amazon. You can transfer your 401k from Apple to Amazon.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
That's a good one. All right.
Yes. So that's where I would start. 401k has a limit of how much money you can put in every year. So I would look into that as well. The limit, are you above 50 or 55? You don't have to say the exact age. Or are you under?
What do you mean? Age? No,
Yes.
I am not yet. I'm not yet.
Okay.
I'm
So,
shy of even 40.
okay, perfect. Honestly, start investing like yesterday. That is the best time to invest was yesterday. The next best time is today. So your limit for putting money in your 401k this year is 24,500 for 2026. So for this
$1,000.
year, you can invest up to 24,500. That money can only come from your paycheck. So once you set it up, every week before you get money in your bank account, when you get paid, your employer will take out the percentage that you select. They'll put it in your 401k and then they'll pay you. You can choose pre-tax or post-tax, aka Roth. Pre-tax really chetegezanti, you're not paying taxes on that money right now, but you will pay taxes on it later on when you take it out in retirement.
Oh, okay.
And then Roth or post-tax means you pay taxes on it right now, but later on in retirement, when you take it out, you don't pay taxes. So it's really just a matter of do you want to pay taxes now or do you want to pay later? The other thing that and I'm sorry, I know I'm taking a lot of time on this, but a lot of people ask me in my DM, so I think this will cover all those questions. The other thing about pre-tax or post-tax is if you're someone that cares about how big your paycheck is, FYI, bojamu bokola post-tax or Roth, your paycheck might be just a little bit smaller because they're taking that money out after taxes. No matter how much you choose to contribute, if your company match is 5%, the minimum you should contribute is 5%. Do not go lower because then you're leaving money on the table.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, oh.
Yeah. So if the
So
company only matches your
so the company chooses the percentage before,
no,
or it's
so
a standard percentage?
you choose how much you want to invest up to 50%. You can invest 50% of your paycheck in a 401k. But
Okay.
the company, as far as giving you free money, they choose how much free money they want to give you. So if your company match, aka free money, is 5%, then you don't want to contribute only 4% of your paycheck because then you're not going to get the company match.
Oh,
So usually I advise people to invest minimum your company match. Wabazo sobola 5%, do that. Just make sure you're getting the match.
Sherry,
Alex,
One
Sherry,
minute,
Alex,
Sybil.
Tina, a second. The best way I tell people about, for those of you who are not in the US, 401ks are like our NSSF, but the best way to tell people about 401k and the benefit of 401k, it's the only investment you take and you are guaranteed 100% return before any investment. That if your employer pays you 5%, all you have to do is to sacrifice a 5% of yourself for the future, but you are assured 100% return because they will match it. So if your employer, if we are to use numbers in this case, okay, the problem is it has a maximum. Let's use the year numbers. That if you put in $100, and then the employer will always match you $100 a month. Now, yes, that money is for the future, but at least you are sure it's making 100% return. Why would you want to leave that money on the table just to get that cash right now? It's a perspective of numbers. Back to you, Tina.
Alex. Maybe my sister is gonna answer this too. You've broadened my. So in the money they tax us, 404. I heard your name is Sheila or Sheila. I don't know.
Sherry,
Sherry.
Sherry.
Yeah, you
Sherry.
can call me
Ati
Sherry. Yeah.
Sherry. Okay, Sherry. So ku sente zino ze batujjako ku paycheck tekuliko NSSF. Let's use
Um,
our language here.
NSSF.
NSSF. I think tusagayo
Like
kugayo
I had
Escobar
Alex
ya NSSF
Agambi.
Sibimadi.
Sherry, NSSF is the 401k.
Kubanga ze daba sente
Okay.
bazijjako
For
nnyingi.
pension, the
NSSF
No.
pension.
is 401k.
So, okay, Mr. G, there's
Equivalent.
something that I want you to do for me. You don't have to do
Okay.
it right now, do it later. But when you log into your workday over any payroll app, Jimoko Sakomorimwe, I need you to pull up your most recent pay stub. You don't have to do that right now. Well, no,
Yeah, I
no,
think
but when you
when
pull
I
up,
get time.
yeah, when you get time, when you pull up that pay stub, it's very overwhelming for a lot of people because it has so much information. But it will tell you what's being taken out. I'll give you an example. Oyinza okufuna $4,000 per paycheck. I think most of us batusasula every 2 weeks. So let's say your 2 week paycheck is $4,000. Ne bajjako $500 for federal taxes. Ne bajjako $283 for state taxes. Ne bajjako $62 for social security. Ne bajjako maybe $72 for Medicare. Kwegamba oyinza okusasula taxes nga za $1,000. If
Right.
you are contributing to a 401k, it will be listed on your pay stub and it will say exactly that 401k
Oh,
contribution
okay.
or retirement contribution. So abantu abamu, some companies tezikuwa choice until when you start the job, they will automatically enroll you in the 401k. Ne bajjako sente, whether you like it or not. And if you don't like it, then you have to go change it. It's called forced enrollment. It's a psychological thing to when people don't have to think about putting away money, they will do it. But if you have to tell them to enroll, then they won't do it. So most companies enroll you the moment you start. If you want to see whether you're contributing without having to talk to your HR, look at your pay stub. Wobatolabako retirement contribution, that means you're not contributing. If you work in healthcare, it's going to be called a 403B. It won't be called a 401k, but it's the
Sure.
same thing. If you work for the state, it's probably going to be 457B, or actually just 457. Long story short, start with a 401k. It's very important to invest for retirement. And 401k nga Alex Wagambi eri very easy. Now, that's the basic part of it. Do you have any questions about that before I get into the investing part of it?
Alex, let me
No,
just
no,
put
no. I'm
something
good. I'm
small.
good.
Okay.
Let me put something
Sorry,
Tina,
Tina,
small.
go
can
ahead.
she land and then you can conclude because it's gonna be longer. Please,
I'm just
respectfully.
going to put something very small. For us, I'm in the UK. So for us, it's a little bit different. For us, we are very lucky that we have got £20,000 on the ISA. The government gives us any money that we don't pay tax. Even if you go and invest all your money, but it should be 20,000 every year. And our tax year ends on the 5th of April. So everybody should take an advantage. Agende agule shares and stocks. Sente zonna ziteekebwako ate emitwalo 2 n'agiteekamu account ya ISA. It should be ISA and stocks. Kubanga waliwo ISA ey'okuinvestinga nga bank, just normal bank money. Eyo it's like a savings. Newabeerawo ISA nga ya stocks and shares. Eyo ya kuinvestinga. Tebakuggyako musolo. Newabeerawo main investment account gye bakuggyako omusolo nga time etuuse okukola ki okuggyayo ssente. So ayagala okuinvestinga nga you are in the UK, gendera ISA shares and stocks. Kati n'ekirala bw'ogendera eyo tebagenda kuggyako musolo. Bw'oteekamu leero emitwalo 2 guno omwaka, Apple bwejja May next year ejja kuba like this year, Apple bweggwako, you are only allowed 20,000. Esigado so investing in another account. Starting from the 6th of April, eros oboyine emitwalo gye 2 egya pound gikubemu. Bw'ogikubamu otegeeza ssente zo ziwera. Bw'oba investinze for the last 10 years obadde oteekamu 2 kitegeeza olina emitwalo 10 n'amagoba nti ne bwokera ku makya n'ozijjayo tebakuggyako musolo wadde n'ogwo. So that is the best account. Olina okugulawo cash ISA eya stocks and shares kubanga abantu get confused ne bagulawo cash ISA ekuwa bubi osobola okuteekayo emitwalo gyo naye etuuka ku mitwalo 2 kubanga tulina ISAs 4 naye zonna sente zirina kubeera like 20,000 pounds. Kati as you're wasting money. Kati n'ekirala kye mbadde ngamba, kati bw'oba oguddewo stocks and shares, ffe tulina brokerages ze tukozesa. Bwe tuba tugenda kukozesa eza US, tulina agreement gye tusayininga. Sente zaffe nga ziri mu dollars. Ne bw'oba ozijjayo bajja kuggyako ka percentage because UK and US balina agreement gye balina nti bwe tuba tuinvestinga back from here, nga tukozesa gundi kubanga most of us tuinvestinga mu US. UK teina gundi nnungi nnyo. Shares zaabwe they are not so attractive and very not lucrative. So tetuzigendera nnyo. So for us, if I was in the UK, anybody who would be here, nandi mu advising akozese trading 212. Trading 212 tebakuggyako ssente. Naye bwe tukozesa Fidelity bakuggyako ssente. Fonga we tuli wane UK bw'okozesa Fidelity kati bw'oba okozesa Fidelity baagala ssente zo bulambalamba, meaning share ebadde costinga £94. Bagenda kujjako 94, bw'oleeta 85 tebajja zijjawo paka we ziwera. Naye mu trading 212 ne invest engine ekkiriza obutonotono nti bw'oleeta pound 100 ejja bukkula bonna butemeeteme. Fidelity kyetakola. So that is why invest engine ejja butemaatema. Kati bwe tutuuka okuinvestinga n'okozesa ebyo ekikulu people have to read hard n'okutegeera ki ekyokukozesa kasi totegeera the basic things kati nga S&P 500 kirungi kyayo kiri kimu but which type ojja genda ogambe S&P 500 naye mulimu nga 6 mulimu mpitirivu so you should know ekuwa sente ekujjako taxes obutonotono ky'olina okugoberera. Don't just say S&P 500, my God. Ojagenanga is very expensive. Always it is 0.1, always it is 0.7. Well, katigendera is very cheap. So that investments
Tino ogenda tubuza okiwambuyiza ogenda tubuza katuddeyo eri.
Okay, kati echo kale kati bw'oba oli UK, please try and look for trading 212 or invest engine. N'ekirala ekirungi keeping investments. Fenna tulina pension, wano tulina compulsory pension gye batuggyako. Naye osobola okusigninga in or out. The best thing, sign in. Gibeeremu kubanga employer akwongerezaako. Who are you obutakkiriza? Kati what makes it better? Kati tulina self investment pension fund gye tuyita SIP. Gwe gye weggulirawo. Bw'ogyeggulirawo n'oteekamu by'oyagala okuinvestingamu, kwata ssente zo ziteekemu ekkiriza emitwalo 6. Ate bw'ekkiriza emitwalo 6 omwaka, buli bw'oteekamu pound 100, gavumenti ekuteerako pound 25. So lwaki osubwa ssente gavumenti zeekuweeza obwereere? Accept that ate ssente zo zijja kula. Kati bwe tuddayo wano ku brokerages, nze I always tell people bakozese ki?
Tina, we have little time.
Excuse me, they can all n'abalala abali UK. Let them have the time. You don't understand we don't get the US, and I'm telling the people of the UK. So also give them the chance to learn. It's not US. She's going to teach us a lot. She's going to teach us, but for us, we are not interested in the US. So I'm on the behalf of people in the UK. All right?
So have you changed your stance?
Because
now you've elongated the whole conversation. I think that's being unfair. Respectfully, so. That's being very unfair.
UK. Anybody who really wants or interested, ajanambuza njabanyanyula.
Thank you, Tina. Thank you, Tina. So, the next step, 401k. Wobomaze okuteeka mu ssente, once you start investing money in your 401k, bagenda kukola. I explained this on the last live, but the 401k is just an investment vehicle, meaning it's a basket, equata investment. So once you put money in that 401k, it actually has to get invested in the stock market. Abantu abasinga, if your employer does it for you, bakuteka mu gye bayita target date fund. So if you have a 401k but you've never gone in to invest or move things around, sente zo zira because I can probably 99% bet it's in a target date fund. Target date fund, the easiest way to invest it, to explain it, is that it's built around the year you're expected to retire based on your age. Nti bw'oba ku myaka gy'olina kati, you're expected to retire in 2050, your fund is probably going to be called Vanguard Target Retirement 2050 or Fidelity Freedom 2050. It doesn't matter, but it will have the name of the year they expect you to retire, which is usually when you turn 62. So a fund is good for a lot of people are very new to investing over between lazy investors, and that's not a bad thing, by the way, being called a lazy investor. Kubanga sente zigendamu and fund nekola ebyayo. It will rebalance itself. You don't have to do anything until once you get closer. Obviously, we're already far. So let's say Odimo 2050 fund, Mr. G, right? Or what we're still a long time away from 2050. So right now, Sentezo Zibeda Zidi invested mostly in stocks, aka equities, which are very volatile, but the higher the risk, the higher the potential return.
Okay, so okay, just a minute in between there. So Bwembanga, what is does it have a minimum time to invest? No government bwoba tonaweza gino myaka tebakukkiriza kuvaamu. When do I retire if I choose to?
You mean when do you take your money out? Because you can retire whenever you want.
Singamba mpazeewo nzire Uganda nengamba njagala genda ne kavangata wange.
So for a 401k specifically, if you can take your money out. There are different circumstances. Osobola okugyayo loan ne weewola. So in a loan ebeera different. Teringa loan ya mu bank because you're borrowing from yourself. I don't advise people to take 401k loans. So I'm not advocating for this, but if you're in a situation where you're on the wall, a 401k loan is sometimes, not all the time, a better option than taking a high interest loan from the bank, even though I don't advise it. The thing with a 401k loan is interest rate usually better like 2% or 2.5%. And you don't need a credit check because again, olikwewola sente zo. Sente z'osasula ozizza mu 401k yo. So you're paying yourself back with interest. Bwe zikulema, nothing happens except teri agenda konkona ku njuyo. But let's say weewola $20,000 from your 401k. N'osasulako $10,000 ne bakugoba ku mulimu n'otasobola kumalayo the other $10,000, the IRS eyo $10,000 egenda zitreatinga nga income. So ogenda kusasula emisolo on that income. And the most important part of your question, Mr. G, is if you take your money out before 59 and a half, pre-tax money especially, you're subject to a 10% early withdrawal penalty if you take the money out as a withdrawal. So bw'ovaawo ng'ogambye ku myaka 45 okooya America, oyagala kudda Uganda naye oyagala kutwala sente zo, you can. You're just going to pay taxes and a penalty. But keep in mind, osobola okudda Uganda n'osigaza 401k nga togiggyeemu ssente. N'esigala ng'ekyakukolera ssente until 59 and a half, then n'oziggyayo without having to pay extra taxes. So I hope that answers your question. Before I proceed, I'm writing down all the questions. Live ndaba kuliko abantu ba US bangi.
Yeah.
A lot of
And
US
thank you
people.
so much again.
I have written down a lot of questions. I just want to let you know that I'm going to go
Alex,
through them.
waliwo omusajja atulembeddeko awo mu stock trader oba ayagala tuguza biki tulina tino atusomesa.
Soko muleke.
Abo baleke olabe nakye nayogedde. Teri bw'aba ayogera ku
atulembeddeko.
One stock trader mumuleke bajja kwogera tujja kuyiga mpola mpola.
Go ahead.
So 401k, long story short, right? Take a musente. Whoever employer or aqua company match, make sure you're getting a company match. Then the maximum is 24,500, which is something that you don't have to worry about. For starters, the average American does not max out their 401k. I'm not calling you an average American, but wotuuka kweyo limit bajja kugamba nti hey, lekeraawo okuteekamu ssente mu 401k otuuse ku limit, and they'll send you back your money. So any questions about a 401k in the US before nga tugivuddeko nga tugenze ku retirement investment option endala? About self-employed, you're up next, I promise. I'm
I
writing
think
down all your questions, but I just want to
I
make
think
sure
you
401k tuzimazing at Tunavale.
401k ogikubye budinda kati ne bw'otutwala gy'oyagala ffe tuwuliriza.
Alex, but then njagala kubuuzaako ekintu kimu because I don't get the American side, which is okay. The people who can get it, that's their own side. I just wanted to ask something before I forget. About the bonds. Sorry to get back to Uganda. About the bonds. There's something Chester Tegera which I would like to have a clarification about. Omanyi wetwagula bonds in 2025 ne tuzilokingiramu like 16%, yeah? Ezimu ezalokinga ne bagamba nti yabadde ku 17 naye nga real yield yabadde okitegera like 16% or 15 or 16.5. Bwe tunaaba twongerako because we are doing compound interest. Kati bwe tunaakola compound interest, bwe tunaagula nga ziri zagudde, what happens? Zeeyongera nga twongeramu bwongezi, do we go back to the initial one? Oba kitegedde kye mbuuza?
In the simplest way possible, nga sikiwanvuyiza nnyo. You just it will work its way out. You just have to keep buying.
Okay,
Your
so
average return
exactly
will just reduce a little bit, but you just have to keep buying.
so it will just join in.
Yes.
Twamala okusasula kati wadde wano zigudde we zinaaba zigudde era kijoininga bujoininzi fe abaagulira mu 2025.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the clarification gye mbadde njagala okubuuza.
Kale. Back to ababadde balina ebibuuzo bya sheri ebisinga bya sheri si byange.
Yes,
munyambeko okulayikinga live samcha ereme gisala kwa kale nzata asinza okusirika ennyo. Bajja kungirako nnyo
Yeah.
Yes,
Please
Sherry,
like the live. So someone asked, I think JD Longview, my wife quit her job 3 years ago. How does she access her 401k? She's now self-employed. So ngenda kuchiddamu 1 and 2. Just self-employment chenzirako, but let me answer the first part. So the main 401k companies in the US, Fidelity, Vanguard, Charles Schwab, Empower, and Principal. So her 401k is with one of those. If she remembers getting any sort of mail from those people, asolo bakubira, bajamubuuza ebibuuzo mannya ge, social security number biki, bamubuulire account ye oba bagirina. If not, asobola okukubira her old employer, just checking in, I had a 401k with you. Can you let me know who the record keeper is? Bajamuwa that information. Now to go into it's a good segue into the next question. Jebadengendo kwogerako bambuziza self-employment. So self-employment, the first account that a lot of people start with, and Enoteri Limited kubantu abali self-employed in the US boka, just so you know. It can be used by anyone in the US that earns income, earning a taxable income. It's called a Roth IRA, most people's favorite account. I know in Najideco there were a lot of people talking about a Roth IRA. So a Roth IRA is an individual retirement account. The Roth stands for post-tax, meaning sente zote kama sasulako da taxes. So it's growing tax-free. It's a very advantaged account when it comes to tax benefits. So Mr. G, this is an account that I would also recommend for you because, not to judge, but it sounds like you haven't been investing for retirement, so you have some catching up to do. And a Roth IRA can help you catch up faster. So I would recommend that you also open a Roth IRA. If it's you and a spouse, buli omu asobola okugulawo one under their name independently. Roth IRA, if you're under 50, you can only put $7,500 this year. That money goes up every year, depending on inflation and a lot of other things. But for this year, it's $1 kasanvu bitano. So for people that are self-employed, for people that are stay-at-home moms, but your husband gives you money, pays you money, go ahead and open a Roth IRA. If you have a daughter, your daughter is 18, akola ku Macy's or akola ku Dunkin' Donuts, open a Roth IRA for them. As long as you are obviously legally documented and you're earning US taxable income and you're not making past a certain amount of money, also local contributing to the 401k. $7,500, you don't have to put that money in at once. So Sigament quarter, the entire 7,500 was taken right now. You can if you want to, but you don't have to. Osobola zitekamo every week, osobola kola bi-weekly, osobola kola monthly, whatever works for you. The goal is tosobola kusuka 7,500. And you have until April 15th of the following year okuzimalayo. What do I mean by that? Nti tetunatuuka ku April 15th, which is tax day, meaning osobola okuteeka Roth IRA contribution mu account yo ey'omwaka oguwedde. You just have to let your brokerage company know that this is a contribution for 2025. How to open a Roth IRA? If you type right now, open a Roth IRA, I'm sure Fidelity will be the first account, the first company that pops up. Solo kugula ku Fidelity, Vanguard, Charles Schwab. Wali and Dalen Tono, I personally do not recommend those, but do what you want with your money. The only reason I don't recommend the small companies like Robinhood, Cash App, Barney, Wealthfront is because they are not the traditional companies. Banova, Fidelity, by Vanguard, by Edward Jones, Charles Schwab, Bali, very traditional. These are companies that have been around for a really long time, but in a brick and mortar stores. So if you need financial advice, you can walk into a Fidelity office and actually sit down with a financial advisor. But in a customer service, they also create their own funds, buying their own mutual funds on the stock market. So long story short, in my opinion, they're more trustworthy than the smaller ones, abakaja. Temunkuba mayinja, but that's my take. So also hugula Roth IRA, no tekamu sente is it after tax. Sente is also okuva mu paycheck yo. You just have to set it up with your HR. Zisobola okuva mu bank account yo, wherever jeziva zigenda munga ziri after tax. It grows tax free, and when you withdraw it in retirement, it's tax free. So it's sort of like a triple advantage account. And then the other thing is you can always take out your contributions at any time without any penalties. So woba oina Roth IRA ngerina 70,000 US dollars. Nayinga kwezo 70,000, you contributed 40,000 and the other 30 is all earnings from the stock market. You can always take out that 40 grand whenever you want without paying taxes on it. Yeah, I think that's pretty much the gist of a Roth IRA. The only other thing I want to mention, abantu basinga gye beerabira, is okugigulawo is just the first step. Once you open the account, you actually have to invest money. So wogulawo account n'oteekamu ssente, you will go ahead and pick an investment. Mr. G, I know he dropped, but he was talking about his risk tolerance being on the lower side. So you can build that portfolio based on your risk tolerance. Abantu abasinga, younger people tend to have a high risk tolerance kubanga bakyali in the market for a longer run. Woba you're in your 20s, you're investing for retirement, okyalina emyaka mingi, right? At that point, your risk tolerance, your portfolio could be 70% equities and a mixture of maybe alternative investments and some bonds in there, depending on your risk tolerance, right? So if you go to Fidelity, if you go to Vanguard and just type in risk tolerance calculator, also taking a quiz, and they'll give you your risk tolerance number. You can invest in ETFs. You can invest. I know Alex has a couple of videos on his page. Ngazogera ku S&P 500. You can go in there and invest in mutual funds. Is it tracking a S&P 500? You can invest in bonds, abantu bagala, AI, ETFs, whatever you want, whatever works for you. It's your account. The difference between a Roth IRA and a 401k is that Roth IRA is not connected to your employer whatsoever. So tebikwatako ab'oku mulimu. You can get a new job, you can lose your job, you can have no job. and you will still have your Roth IRA because it's your account. With that being said, that means no one is managing it for you unless you ask them to. So if you put money, you need to make sure you're checking your account and making sure it's invested how you want it to be invested. I will say that it sounds like I'm just a champion for Fidelity at this point, but Fidelity has an option where Baku, you can opt in to have their robo advisors manage your 401k for you. So they will ask you a series of questions and they will pick the funds, they will do the rebalances and exchanges. That's an option. Woboyagala kuiga, just play around with the different stocks and whatnot and learn. That's also a good idea. Just remember to look up everything, especially expense ratios. Expense ratios are one of those things that people don't learn about until they start making a lot of money. Because let's say you invest in a fund, actually, you know what? Let me first define an expense ratio before I even go that far. So, expense ratio um, is a fee or it's a percentage of your investment and it's automatically deducted from the fund that you invest. So you'll never see a bill of an expense ratio. So, for example, let's say you choose the VOO, right? The VOO with Vanguard, I believe their expense ratio for that is 0.03%, if I remember that correctly. Alex, you can fact check me on that one. It's been a minute since I looked at the VOO, but yeah, so let's say the expense ratio for Vanguard S&P 500 ETF VOO is 0.03. Kyekitegeeza nti Vanguard echarginga buli investor alina ssente ezo 0.03% of the money.
Right.
Was I right on that?
Yeah,
Percentage?
0.03 for VOO.
Nice. I'm glad I remember that.
SPY is 0.09%.
That's kind of high.
IVV, which is the iShares, is 0.03%. So
Yeah. Perfect. Okay. So kyekitegeeza Zebra nkulabi kyekitegeeza ekyo nti for every year, let's say for every $1,000 that you have in that fund as an investor, Vanguard will take 30 cents. Now, when you're starting out, that's nothing, right? 30 cents share. Now, once your portfolio hits six figures and it starts to climb, those expense ratios start to come back to bite. They start to come back to bite. So I just wanted to quickly explain what an expense ratio is. It may not be a big deal, but slowly by slowly, as you learn, it's something that will come up. Glorious, I hope we didn't lose you there, but I was trying to explain that Boba or Londa Fund is also investing amusente. You have to pay attention kubanga not all of them are free. Companies are creating a fund ezo zikucharginga. So netugamba VOO, which is a S&P 500 ETF tracker for Vanguard, expense ratio yayo eri really low in my opinion. It is 0.03%, meaning for every 1,000 buli mwaka bakujjako 30 cents for every 1,000. So oba wakatandika okuinvestinga ng'olina obusente butono, that's nothing. 30 cents is not even lunch money. But sente zo buli wezeeyongera okukula, that money starts to be significant. So just keep an eye out on that. Fidelity has a lot of zero expense ratio funds, just so you know, that cost you nothing to invest with. But yeah, that's it for a Roth IRA. So my self-employed people, that's the first account that I would recommend. I'm going to pause for some questions, but I have 3 more questions to answer and then we'll go on. But I know Save came up here, so maybe he has a question.
Thank you so much for the opportunity gyemumpadde okutangazaamu okwo. Njagaddeko na ku nsonga ya Roth IRA eri very powerful naye ng'ate emyaka gyemazeewo teweza na myaka 3 since it was invented in 1997 by William Roth nebeera nga ali named after him, that senator okumanya is so powerful. One of the billionaires amanyiddwa nga Peter Thiel yagikozesa initially mu 1997 ku Bill Clinton bwe baginventingawo, Congress negipassinga. What happened is maximum cap yayo yali $2,000 and this is the money Peter Thiel yakwata na investinga mu PayPal nga bagitandikawo nga angel investor. So n'agula about 1.7 million shares as a PayPal and shares ezo yazigula about $0.007. PayPal bwe yakula baali Peter Thiel, Mark Andreessen n'abalala okuli Elon Musk gye bayita PayPal mafia. Eventually eBay yaji acquiringa and Peter Thiel n'akola sente nnyingi nnyo from his Roth IRA. Eventually n'addamu n'alinvestinga sente ezo ng'ali under the same vehicle a Roth IRA into Facebook, currently manyiddwa nga Meta. And by 2019 report yafulumizibwa ku investment ye ya Roth IRA yalinamu $5 billion untaxed money from the Roth IRA, Peter Thiel. So kiraga how powerful Roth IRA bweri.
I agree. Especially when you're young. I feel like for a lot of people, I have a buddy of mine, I never bidi balongo. But yeah, bagulira or Roth IRAs when they were teenagers. And Bombi, they're on track to be millionaires by the time they're in their 30s, purely off of the Roth IRA. It's a really, really good account.
It is.
Okay, so the other question, thank you for adding that context, Save. The other question that someone had is a solo 401k. Well, no, their question was actually, what are my options as a self-employed person? As a self-employed person, you can't have, I don't want to say can't, but 401k jemba denjo gerako with a company match and everything, that applies to people that are regularly employed, not to a self-employed person. As a self-employed person, you can have a solo 401k. That is the best choice for abantu abataina employees. Maybe just employee goina is your spouse, right? If that's your situation, I would encourage you to look into a solo 401k. FYI, I should have started with this disclaimer. I don't know how I forgot. Alex, myself, Save Space, and everyone who will be talking on this live today, Tina was speaking earlier, truly, we're doing this for free. Let me start there. We're financial advisors, most of us, but we're not your financial advisor. So what we say, we're sharing information, but it's impossible for us to share all the information that exists about all these different investment options that we're talking about. What I usually recommend to people is when you get out, or Alex, why you get out, or anyone on this live now, you get a chain to, and it stands out to you, like, oh, I didn't know what a Roth IRA was. Write it down and look it up on your own. Kubanga, there's so much to teach and learn about these things that Roth IRA okusobola okutwala 2 hours nga tujogerako ebintu byonna. So it's not like we're withholding information or we're misleading, or if we misspeak, we're human. I think the goal is to enlighten you on the different opportunities and options that you have out there so you can do more research on your own. And especially to make sure that these apply to your personal situation. Kubanga buli omu alina financial plan, buli omu alina goal ezize. So tuyinza ogamba this is so great, but tula wansi olabe if it fits in your big picture. Just wanted to give that disclaimer. Do additional research. We can't teach you everything. So, self-employed people, solo 401k, best choice. Boba tolina employees, company eri gwewe kajiriko. especially people that are in a sole proprietorship. Maybe the only other person you have is a spouse. Kuyambako ta kuyambako. So in the solo 401k, again, write it down and look it up because there's so much to say about that. But you can contribute as both the employee and the employer. So you end up saving a ton of money in that. So solo take on the employee part, which is 24,500. Then you can also do the employer profit sharing, which I believe is up to 25% of your net business income, for a total of 72 grand. I'm not going to spend too much time on that, but solo 401k is the first best option. The next one is the SEP IRA, SEP, also known as a simplified employee pension. It's pretty simple to set up, and I guess that's why it's called simplified. It's very easy to set up. It works for people that are self employed, whether you have employees or you don't have employees. It's very easy to open, easy to maintain. You, as the business employer, you can contribute again 25% of your net self employment earnings. And then the contributions are also tax deductible and they get to grow tax deferred. This one doesn't have a Roth option, just so you know. But it is, again, pretty simple to set up. Then the other option is a simple IRA, which is, gosh, do I remember that name? Savings Incentive Match Plan for Employees. Yeah, that sounds about right. If you're self employed with a small team of up to 100 employees, that's something that you can look into. It will be for you and your employees, of course. Let's say in a company, you're employing 90 people. If anyone in this live is doing that, thank you for your service. That's something that you can look into. And then the other option is your traditional IRA. I know we didn't talk about that because we're talking about Roth, but traditional IRA is an option. The main difference is a traditional IRA is pre-tax money, unlike the Roth, which is post-tax. Keep in mind, if you have a traditional IRA and a Roth IRA, the limit is still 7,500 combined. So just so again, more traditional no take 7,500, no gena more Roth no take 7,500. The total needs to be 7,500. Most brokerage companies will tell you when you're hitting that limit, but I try to be cognizant of it myself because the IRS will tax you. Actually, they'll penalize you for every cent you go over. So don't find out the hard way. Yeah, those are the different options. So I hope you guys were able to write that down. Go ahead and look it up, and we'll go from there. So that was the question about self-employed people. Someone else asked life insurance cash benefit in a conversation. Before I get into that, let me see if I have any questions in the comments. Alex or Save, do you have anything to add? I know space is up here too, so I'll give you a minute.
Oh yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. Thanks, Alex, for bringing me up. You've partly answered my question, Sherry. My only other bit, which is going to tie into what you're planning to talk about next, is for people in the US, there's a common thing going around with IULs, especially. I've encountered a number of people marketing IULs, and
Yep.
sometimes I feel like it's very persuasive the way it's being marketed to me. I personally did a life insurance course, and I even acquired the state license to sell the same, just so I could get enough knowledge about it. My question is, I am planning to invest for the next 30 years. I'm 40 years now. I'm planning to invest for the next 30 years. I've been doing a trial investment thing with Fidelity, and I'm currently at around 24,000. I've put in 24,000, and I have currently my portfolio is 1,000. So which means I have 2,000 as what I've made. I plan to do the same for the next 30 years. Is it safer for someone to buy an IUL product, or is it safer for someone to stick with what they think might work, which is Fidelity? I'm basically buying QQQ and BOO and keeping it simple, but I want it long term. And then in addition to that, if it is safer, my target is I have a kickstart. I have a gift from a friend, which is 100,000. So I'm looking for where to put that 100,000 and then build on that for the next 30 years. But I want to be sure. I want to get it right before I'm all in. That's my question.
Yeah, that's a great question. Real quick, is your Fidelity account a brokerage? I think it is, but I just want to confirm.
It's a brokerage.
It's a brokerage? Okay, perfect. One thing that I want to say is QQQ and VOO, they're both great. Just so you know, you probably already know there is some significant overlap in the two. Maybe it's something that you're aware of, but there is some overlap there, so you have some room to diversify.
Sherry, a second on that. There is no overlap. They are the same, just offered by they track at the same
Yeah, I'm
S&P
like, the overlap
500.
is pretty, yeah, because
They,
QQQ tracks the NASDAQ and VOO it tracks the S&P 500, so the overlap is pretty significant. Which is not a bad
To add
thing,
on,
by the way. It just means olimu investing moving to BABIMU, so you're not diversifying that much, which in investing, it's good to diversify. Kubanga, if something goes bad in the other one, you still have a basket of untouched on the other side. So just wanted to point that out. My financial senses were taking when you said you have both in the same portfolio.
can I add on something?
Yeah, of course.
Thank you. In regards ku nsonga gy'abuuzizza, maybe okudiversifyingamuuko ayinza okufuna SQQ, which is the inverse, is 3x inverse eya QQQ. Kubanga tech is QQQ, tracking a NASDAQ. Naye singa NASDAQ, like right now, market ebadde yaguddemuuko olw'okuba software zabadde hit by the AI. Kati normally buli obeera nga NASDAQ ekola bubi ofuna 3x the money nga olina SQQQ. Okuba example ennungi, bwe wabeerawo recession mu 2008, share emu eyali eya SQQ before the recession yali ku dollars alinga 5, but mu recession ya 2008 share yagenda ku mitwalo 10 egya dola eya SQQ. So emu ya SQQQ bwekubeera ku chati yaabwe yali mu mitwalo 10 egya dola, ng'agigula dola nga 7 oba dola nga 5.
Save olesa ensonga enkulu. I'm going to do one caveat for anyone who is starting to invest. ETFs eziri mu shorting, options, shorts and calls and whatever. Soko ozireke. Soko you get standard investing because most times you must be a patient investor to make money in the short side of things. Chali mukunyunyura, those are the shorts and the puts and whatsoever. Like you're literally betting on a.
That's very active.
Yeah, it's it makes money. It makes money for people who understand it. But if you are here and your goal is to learn, to invest, to play the long-term game, first believe majority of the ETFs people talk, and I love where the conversation is going. It's a little bit of a niche conversation. So many people were sticking in and now understanding what it takes of these products. Learn the QQQ and understand what it is. Learn the VOO, understand what it is. Learn the Glorious has talked about. Go a little bit international. Maybe one of these days, Sherry, we shall get a list of maybe the top 100 ETFs and just come and go through some of them. You learn the long-term game of that. But I love what Sev has brought in. I just want to add a little bit of a caveat of that, literally the shorting business. It's extremely good. I have a friend of mine who makes a lot of money of it, but also will tell you if you so consider no more standard investment.
Yeah. And also space. I know we kind of like zeroed down in your portfolio. You know, the worst thing you can ever do in a group of investment analysts is talk about what exactly you're investing in. Twasama. Like we'll always have something to say. But anyway, so
yeah, that's all right. Hopefully included, yes.
But yeah, but hey, I'm glad you said something because if you weren't aware of the fact of, that there was overlap there, now you know. But
The good
yeah, I
thing
mean,
with that is for a person who is interested in learning, when you're hearing people having a standard conversation about something that interests you, you will pick a lot of things. So for
exactly.
a person who is listening in and trying to, maybe they are picking up information like, oh, they have mentioned this, let me go research about it, let me do some more research about it, you'll pick so much. So thank you so much, Space, for that.
Yeah,
Thank
thank you. And yeah, like, just to go back briefly before I go away from your portfolio and actually answer your question about life insurance, if you want to be aggressive, you could even do VTI, 70% VTI, and then VXUS. If you're moderate, VTI, VXUS, and then some BND. I mean, I'm just listing Vanguard funds because it sounds like you lean more towards Vanguard, but you can look up the Fidelity equivalent of all these funds. VOO performs pretty much the same as FXAIX, which is the Fidelity fund. So you can diversify, basically. That's the short story long, diversify. So the other part of your question about the IUL. I'm in Boston, but I'm because I know that this conversation is about to shake some tables. But
that's where I am.
hey, I grew up in Boston, so I definitely know. But IUL, here's the thing about IUL, and I'm going to get very local for a second here. Alex, I'm in Uganda, Boston recently, but in this new interest in financial literacy, and it's great, right? I'm very excited that abantu baagala okusoma, baagala okuyiga, baagala okuwuliriza. The problem is that the amatugo oba ogagudde, like, you know what, I'm finally ready to listen. Notatyako kasengejja. It brings in a lot of
Otomera.
rubbish. Otomera.
Akasengejja is, who do you listen to?
Exactly.
Nina muganda wange oba kwali kuno ngenda mwogera erinnya abantu abakola ebintu in the open. I say ebintu bitogerera mu open, we are allowed to be critiqued. Simanyi muganda wange Kakande Kapalaga oba kwali kuno naye namulabyekoko, then simanyi oba akyali ku Kapalaga, bw'oba okyaliko kutumiddeko. Simanyi Kapalaga's information is on finance. Niya male baga nga sana kuja nayo kutikiro nga is promoting insurance zininga Kapalaga. Soko temuko bigere. Do you understand what you are promoting? Kapalaga nagira IULs nengamba Kapalaga soko kakanemu. But chiringa abantu abali e Kampala, IULs for the Kampala's people are the endowment policies kind. Actually, exact for us, the only difference is they don't have the IULs. At least for them, they track certain investment products. As a Kampala endowments, they track nothing, but they have that same element. But Sherry, go back. I know Kapalaga is quite later abantu be Boston yawo kugamba banange IULs. So namulabyeko baba kwali Kapalaga akutumiddeko. I'm pointing you out because not in a bad way, is to kind of indicate what it takes sometimes to get the right information to the people.
Exactly. So the reason I'm applying this context, right? As a fellow financial professional, we can all agree that life insurance is very, very important, especially to immigrants. Life insurance is very, very important. It's something that everyone should have. And people keep asking me, how do I know if I should have life insurance? Da, da, da. And my answer usually is, if you know that if you died right now, someone would suffer financially from your death, then you need life insurance, now or in the future.
Can I ask you a question here, Tina? Not Tina, Sherry. And this is from a conversation, and I now have a few other investment people on the live. You have brought in a very good point, and let's explore it a little bit. You've said, if you know, if you are to die tomorrow, the people will suffer financially, then you need a life insurance policy. If in my capacity I sit back and I'm like, I've saved off my 100 million. Now, UGX guys, This is in the US.
Yeah, but dang and that girl,
Okay,
Alex.
let's say $50,000, and in somehow, somewhere, I've made my assessment that this money is enough. If I'm to pass on, my one child will be okay to start on their life or whatever. Do I then still need a life insurance policy? Especially pure
100%.
life insurance policy.
You still need life insurance. And thank you for pushing that, that pin a bit further. And the reason I say that is because Alex Yemuka got so get to move vehicle. But the the average person that we're talking about does not have 50,000 saved in hard cold cash. Is it today? And if they do, that's a big if. If they do, that money is tied up either in assets, nti nine ebyapa bibiri ematuga, nine motoka, Colonia, DCU, enatera okuggwako. I have like tell me again. I have like a couple hundred here and there, right? Like the average person doesn't have that money saved. So yes, the answer is you need life insurance. And the reason that I said now or in the future is usually people tell me, well, Sherry, see Navana, I'm not married yet, see Nazara. Good for you, right? Absolutely amazing choice. The thing is, if you know you plan to have kids in the future, you should get life insurance now. Kubanga, the older you get, sometimes it gets harder. Okudwala, abantu abamu balwala, you're riskier now, basically. The closer you get to dying, the more risky you are to a life insurance company. So your premiums become a little more expensive. So my answer is yes, you need a life insurance policy. So to this Boston conversation, I was very excited because I'm like, you know what? Abantu baffe tubadde tubagamba okuinvestinga okufuna life insurance okukola biki nga tebawulira. Now all of a sudden everyone wants to have life insurance. The problem is we jumped from 0 to 100 very fast. Twava ku basics, twava ku musasule credit zammwe, have a good credit score, emergency saving funds, mu high yield savings account, wewe natwabibuuka. Need to get us straight to IUL. So let's talk about an IUL and why I'm an IUL hater, by the way. By the way, these are views of my own, not views of Alex Kakande. He's just providing the platform. So
Sure.
come to me. Alex Mujemo, come to me. Sorry, go on. Save, you had something.
Bambi, thank you so much. Nange ku nsonga y'emu, sikiriza nnyo mbatunda life insurance because
Wait, stockism life insurance? Oba
njikiriza
just
because
mubatunzi bayo?
njikirizamu kubanga nina njina ne
Okay.
Transamerica yanenze nagenda ku Transamerica directly era
Yes.
mpa premium tini nnyo naye bano ba inflating prices because bagala kufuna commissions w'amaanyi, which is not
Yes.
good. Yeah.
Is it Budo that has that thing that says Gachali Mabaga? What school in Uganda has that?
Sherry, nga tonabana kujja ku yo IULs mbadde ni mukola pranka yange wano. But by'oyinza okwogera bino byonna nyinza oba njja kukkiziganyayo for 100% for one reason. Olutalo olunza oba lw'olina n'abantu b'e Boston ono yo IULs. Lwe lutalo lwe lumu lwe nnina n'abantu b'e Kampala abagula endowment policies.
Yes.
When you look the endowment packages and the way they are promoting them, to the extent possible, respectfully, the sales agents who call themselves financial advisors, they sell them like they're even an investment product. And they do not even explain to the people, to the extent possible, that the return, this is an insurance policy, which is a life assurance policy with an embedded investment policy, but it's not even investment, it's a high savings account at 2-3%. But and yet they aggressively say, oh no, you do this. So whatever chogendo kugera, I'm okay to borrow some of those words and I'll just borrow them. Nzukuba abe Kampala abalemedde mu endowment policies. Yet I tell the same people, life insurance policies are so many. The best ones, rarely do people promote them, which many of us need. Nga save jata andikideke ye US, but we shall talk about for those like in Kampala style. But yes.
Perfect. To Simbode. So here's the thing. Tutandike ku IUL. I think let's start from the beginning, right? What is an IUL? IUL, the word itself stands for Indexed Universal Life Insurance Policy. It's a type of permanent life insurance policy. And not two different sections. Just a FYI, this conversation might get very boring, but lock in. I'll try to simplify it as much as possible in a few minutes. The first part is life insurance coverage, right? Which means by paying a death benefit and go food. And then the second part is cash value account, meaning that part of the life insurance policy grows based on the performance of a market, typically the S&P 500. So remember, the money is not actually invested in the stock market. Instead, insurance company Jofuna, it credits interest based on an indexed formula. That's why it's called Indexed Universal Life Insurance Policy. So you're not investing that in the stock market. The insurance company will credit based on the formula. The common one, like I said, AD S&P 500. Kaparaga high, you summoned him. So how IUL growth and
Ani
works now?
amulesa mukomezaawo kapalaga
Balaika
baby.
bamuweereza live ne baga Alex akuno.
Muganda wange ye kakande lwakuba simanyi lwaki akozesa kapalaga kozesa erinnya lyaffe erinnya kati litunda
Kakande erinnya kati walifunako trade.
Erinnya litunda kakande.
Kakande is a household name.
Genda maaso.
Now again, I'm trying to simplify this as much as possible. So IUL typically erina a cap, meaning there's a maximum gain you can receive. It's not unlimited like most people tell you. It also has a floor, meaning the minimum, which is 0%. It also has a participation rate. Participation rate, the best way to explain it is like a percentage of index gain, Jofuna. I promise this will make sense in a bit. So, all right. These are the advantages of an IUL. Trying to get a birungi. Kuba jebiri buli kimu kirinako ebirungi. Kujjako segundi. He shall not be named. So advantages the permanent life insurance, right? You have coverage if set up right. You have, and properly funded, of course, your coverage lasts your entire life. Edina downside protection, which is that floor that we talked about, meaning you don't directly lose money in market downturns due to that floor. You kind of, what safety blanket is what I like to call it. It's also tax deferred growth, meaning the cash value part, kula tax deferred, emisolo bagitereka for later, tax deferred. If structured properly, you can borrow tax-free loans from this. It also, unlike 401ks, IRAs, mbadenzo gerako bagamba contribution limits, technically terina yearly contribution limit. So those are the advantages. Let's talk about the disadvantages. It has high fees. I will tell you, most people benda byabogera ku life insurance policy eno in Boston, they don't actually talk about the high fees because these fees are usually hidden. So you're paying for the cost of insurance, you're paying for administrative fees, you're paying for rider fees. We'll talk about what riders are. You're paying for surrender fees. In the early years, most of your premiums actually zigenda ku fees. Tizigenda ku cash growth. Then there's also a limit. So it's not an endless bucket of growth, right? So if the market averages 10% long term, but the cap is at 8%, you're structurally limited. Togenda sukao. Wait, can you guys still hear me? I think the live is paused, right? Oh.
I can
Alex,
hear
you're
you
good?
perfect. Yeah, I can hear you.
It paused for a second. So just think about that, right? just because bagamba it's tracking the market, which is sort of market is sort of, someone said we're having a legendary run with AI stocks and everything. Let's say market kola bulungi nnyo and you have 15% for a couple of years. It doesn't mean that cash value will get you that 15%. If your cap is at 8, you're already locked in. So over 30 years, if the market does well, even just 10 out of those 30, you kind of created a jail for yourself. Then let's talk about complexity. An IUL, I think anyone who's fully licensed legitimately to structure an IUL will tell you that it's one of the most complicated policies to underwrite. It's a very complex contract. The returns depend on your cap changes, participation rate, policy performance, and then the insurance cost increases as you get older. Most buyers do not fully understand how this works. Also, it can collapse if you underfund it, if you take too many loans, and then if the insurance costs just rise and you can't afford it. If that policy lapses because of your financial situation, again, that could triggering a large taxable event. That filing your taxes for that year will be hell, I promise you. By the way, I'm not saying any of this to scare you guys. Like I said earlier, we're sharing information. Do additional research and see if it works for you. If you hear this and you read and you still want your IUL, go for it. But just for the people that may not have access to some of this information, we just want to make sure. Then the other thing that people don't tell you, life insurance agents, I have beef with all of you. IULs typically pay very high commissions to agents. Depending on the company, it's 50 to 100% plus of the first year's premium. I don't know if they're telling you all this, but that is a very big incentive for someone to walk around Boston selling everyone an IUL. 50 to 100% of the first year's premiums igenda wa agent.
In fact, omwaka mulamba sente zonna zowa for the first year it goes to the
Zigenda we.
agents.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So mu finance and really any other gondi twina chetwita ethics, right? There's a difference between something being illegal and something being ethical. Just because something is not illegal doesn't make it ethical, right? It's not illegal okufuna 50 to 100% of the premiums for the entire year ngazija wa agent who, right? It's illegal. Otherwise they wouldn't be doing it openly. Is it ethical though okugenda wa jjajja asabira mu church ya global omukazi asula mu Lord Baron rent ali mu mumenya n'omu-explainingira IUL with the minimal financial knowledge gy'alina without telling them that omwaka okusooka gonna sente zasasula zigenda mu nsawo yo, even though there's a lot of other different financial options that judge can invest in. This is where I go on a rant real quick, and this is my issue with the agents running around the Ugandan community selling these policies, is they're not doing it from an ethical standpoint. And much as some people claim, babikolera community, simanya kutujja mu bwavu biki, there's some misalignment here based off of that incentive alone. Nti singa Alex abadde ansasudde $10 okujja ku live eno, you should question everything I'm saying because there's money behind it. But he didn't. I'm here for free on a Sunday night, right? So that kind of should give you some sort of chikukakanyamu katono ntono. There's no incentive for me to be here publicly and do something I shouldn't do. So personally, that's my issue. And the thing too, this may not come out the right way, so I apologize if anyone gets offended by this, but the average Ugandan kubali mu kutunza life insurance policy does not have the financial literacy capacity to fully understand the intricacies of that policy. I warned you guys that it would be boring, and I noticed a couple of comments of people saying they are lost, Richie. Katolaba Sherry Wawe, akunyonyode in the simplest way possible in 10 minutes, and you're lost and confused. How many hours do you really think you would need to sit down with a life insurance agent to fully understand what you're getting into before you buy that policy? So hear me and hear me clearly. Before you buy an IUL policy, I need you to consider that there are other life insurance options. In fact, Alex, if you let me, I will talk about them at the end of this. So people know that Sidimu Bago Bako IUL and Bagambe leave you hanging. I want to give you good options, right? So IULs should not be a retirement plan. Ndi muntu atayagala I don't want to hate on things that I don't understand, so I only hate on things that I understand. I've sat through a lot of these presentations, but agent Panozibawa is life insurance policy. And they all start with the same pitch. Baina ka PowerPoint, wani akabakolera, bonnabonna batambula ne ka PowerPoint ke kamu. And it's the same script. Basooka ne bakugirayo 401k, ne bakugirayo 529, ne bakugamba nga stock market bwekola ssente ntono, nga 401k bweyina limit, then at the end ne bagamba naye IUL, ne bacomparing n'ogamba ne bagamba even social security in retirement will not beat the IUL policy. Guys. Obanyi, there's something that I think should be required in school lately, and it's media literacy. If you've noticed the way I teach and how Alex teaches, if I'm not mistaken, is I'll define something, I'll tell you the good things about that thing, and I'll tell you the bad things, and then you decide what to do. I won't tell you what to pick. If you see someone only telling you the good side of something, that's marketing, man. They're playing on your emotions. So IUL is not better than a 401k. IUL is not better than all these products. And the way they market it is abagagga bakozesa eno, it's the best kept secret. It's a tax code. Tebogera na IUL because the IRS tax code for it. And this is how you can make all this money and blah, blah, blah. Guys, no one is hiding. Kwa America, I'll speak for the US. No one's hiding the secrets of the wealth building Gundi from you guys. So they're all here. There's no one hiding that stuff from you. Anyway, I'll get off my soapbox for now and get back to teaching. But I just want everyone who's listening to me who sells IUL life insurance policies to vulnerable people in our community. Shame upon you. Do better. But anyway, so let's talk about IULs as we wrap it up before I go into what are the options you should consider before you go into this one. So an IUL, even if you decide to go with it, right, it should never be your main retirement plan, right? It shouldn't be your main account mbu eno egenda kuvamu sente za retirement, eno egenda kubeeramu sente ezisomesa abaana. No. Retirement planning or retirement investment requires growth, right? It requires low fees. That's why to ekinze time netwogera ku expense ratios. It requires broad diversification, and that's why we talked to Space about diversifying his portfolio. It requires full participation in the stock market, right? Time in the market is better than timing the market, and the longer you're in it, the more you benefit from it. So full retirement planning, the best way to do it for the average person, or kubera stock market fully. An IUL policy doesn't do that. Then long-term compounding. Alex is always talking about compound interest and compounding, so I'm not even going to spend time on that. But low-cost index investing historically, look at the numbers, historically it outperforms capped products over the long run. Look up the Vanguard, I believe it's the total stock market index fund, and compare its performance to the average IUL, if you'd like to do your own research on that. So, long story short, the simplified way, woba oli muku investing for retirement, genda mu 401k, oba mu IRA zetwogeddeko. Woba oli muku investing for medical and you're eligible for an HSA, go invest in an HSA account. If you're investing in general, just general investing, open a brokerage account with Fidelity, with Vanguard, with whatever. If you are getting a life insurance policy, it should be mainly for life insurance, not for retirement, not for loans, not for any of that extra stuff. There's no shortcuts. There's a reason all these different products were created. Use them for their main purposes, right? And then before, as I wrap up and talk about, and let someone else talk before I go into the different investment options, right? Insurance and investing combined is inefficient. And me and my 4 financial degrees can say that insurance and investing would combining, it's not a good in the long run. It's not a good goal. Insurance is very good for income replacement and estate planning. Those are the main best things for life insurance: income replacement and estate planning. Investing is best for wealth accumulation. When you combine the two in the long run, you may find that you're paying insurance costs on money that's meant to grow. And now you're reducing your long-term compounding, right? And then also opportunity cost, right? Let's say space aze nagula aina 401k ajimakisinga buli mwaka, aina Roth IRA, aina HSA, and then maybe aina brokerage account, compared to someone who only has an IUL. Because for some of the people that are being sold IUL plans, again, it goes back to ethics, right? You're selling someone an IUL policy, and maybe they don't even have a high yield savings account emergency fund. Nti bw'afiirwa Uganda nga yeetaaga 5,000 ez'olumbe, I don't know how much lumbe is, but let's say $5,000. Agenda kwewola mu IUL. Realistically speaking, that's not in their best interest. A good financial advisor who has that person's best interest at heart will probably coach them through saving for emergency. At least 3 to 6 months of an emergency fund, high yield savings account. Know all other basics before you jump to something as extreme as an IUL policy. Otherwise, you're setting them up for failure. So a lot of people are being sold IUL policies. Nga tebamanyi 401k, they haven't invested in a 401k, they don't have a Roth IRA, they don't have all these other investment accounts, they don't even have an emergency fund, which should be the basic account. Ne oba investing, buli omu should have an emergency fund. I'm not saying it's easy to have one, by the way. It takes a minute. And for most people, I think recently there was a report that was released by PBS, I believe, eyagambye nti 60% of Americans cannot afford a $1,000 emergency. 60% of Americans. Nti, for those of you that have cars, it costs minimum $1,000 okuteekako emipiira gyonna ena at once. So imagine the average American, 60% is a big number, you guys, cannot afford a $1,000 emergency. So, in my opinion, it's unethical to go to a person like that and sell very complex products. Zebatagenda kutandika harvesting other benefits of now or even ever, quite frankly, because they may run out of money and then let the policy lapse, right? Because if you can't afford a $1,000 emergency, you probably shouldn't be paying all these premiums for an IUL. And then historical reality, right? Long-term equity, like markets, S&P 500 that we talked about has averaged at least 9 to 10% annually over decades. IULs often, I haven't looked at the data for the past 2 years, but I believe it's 6 to 7% net long-term projections after the caps and the costs. So the difference over 30 years is insane. Now, I know njogedde bingi ebikyamu about an IUL, but here's when an IUL might make sense, in my opinion. I think an IUL is a very niche financial product that's not for everyone, and that's okay, right? If you are a high income earner and you've maxed out all your other tax advantaged accounts, I'm talking about people who have a backdoor Roth IRA. Look that up if you don't know what it is. Backdoor Roth, you make too much money to contribute to a Roth IRA normally, so you open a backdoor Roth, right? So woba ofuna sente nyingi nnyo, and when I say high income, by the way, I'm not talking about like $100,000 a year. I'm not saying that's little money, but I mean high income. So if you've maxed out all your other tax advantaged accounts, your 401ks, your IRAs, zini maxed out, your 529 accounts have been contributed to, then it might make sense for you to have an IUL. If you usually clients betogana that are estate planning for high net worth individuals, I'm talking about millionaires or whatever, an IUL might make sense. People who have heard all this and they're like, I heard you, Sherry, but I still want this anyway. That's fine. But Nang, I just want to emphasize, we're just here to share information. So at the end of the day, do what's best for you. But the goal is that an IUL is a supplemental strategy. It's not the foundation. And it needs to stop being sold as the foundation. IUL, life insurance, by the way, I probably said this before, but the main purpose of life insurance, tekwatako gwe nanyiniyo. Nti Sherry wemba nina life insurance policy. The main purpose is not for me to benefit from that life insurance policy. It's for people to benefit from when I'm dead. So, bino byonna bye babagamba msimayanga loan, nsimayanga biki. If you need to buy a product okugyewolako, then that's an indicator that you need some recalibration in your financial plan. Okiraba, nti Sherry might need a loan in 2 years, so kagule IUL, so in 2 years agyewolako. Make it make sense. Life insurance is supposed to be for the people that you leave behind, not for you. If you end up benefiting from it, great. You can use it as a double-edged sword, but that's not the main purpose. So you shouldn't financially look at it as that way. But yeah, I think that's that's all the information that I have about IULs. I know you've probably heard all the pitches about it's a better retirement plan than a 401k. It's safe, tax-free investment, beats the stock market, the only way to grow your money, blah, blah, blah. But I hope the information that I have shared today is helpful. Space, I know this was your question, but let me know if that answers your question before I tell people about the alternatives of
Yeah,
life insurance.
that answers it, Sherry. And I'm glad you've used all the correct words. I love how you've explained everything in detail. And surely now I know what is off my list. It can be IUL. So yeah, I appreciate that.
I'm glad. I'm sure I'm going to have angry DMs after this, but I'm ready.
Can I add on something?
Yeah, of course.
Thank you so much. Okwongerezaako normally how it works, kuba salesperson wa marketeers wa life insurance, ye kasita signinga up omuntu n'assigninga up, kasita akola the first premium n'agipayinga, esooka bamuwa percentage eya coverage eya that year n'aba ng'agifuna. Even though newabanga omuntu anakuba nti amazeeyo, the moment someone signs up, because I have a friend of mine atuna insurance and oba yagadde okukola ssente ogamba nyamba osayinika policy wano, just as long as paying the first premium bought, I'm gonna be paid sente zonna eziri mu gundi eyo, even though newoba ogenda cancelling after 3 months oba after paying the first premium. Kati nebo cancellinga sente zino zibamuwadde bazimujjako oluvannyuma nti yamalayo ya cancellinga out oba ne bakibalansinga out ku bantu baleese oluvannyuma. Nenga the target is kusigning up someone immediately and someone makes money right away, oba 80% eya policy y'omuntu oyo for the first year, even though abatannakuba nti apayinze sente ezo zonna nga bwe zirina okubeera mu policy ezo ey'omwaka ogwo. That's why marketeers ennaku zino bangi nnyo
Exactly.
ekigenze wala.
Exactly.
Nenga ate ebintu bingi byosobola they're like a lot of high yield investments accounts like cash secured puts, and even beating as someone owning a mortgage. like a lot of investment avenues someone can utilize to make money uh, in this country. That's life
Yep,
insurance.
exactly. There are a lot of options. Is okola sente. It's a lot. And honestly, you guys, financial literacy, Alex says it all the time. I think everyone on this live has probably heard this before. Financial literacy is not fun. It's boring. Okay? Togenda laba kasuku no seka like brainless content, no offense to kasuku, but those things are easy, right? That's why buli omu byalaba. They're easy to watch. But when it comes to things that, again, let me get back on my soapbox. Most of us are immigrants, right? Yeah, some people are born here, some people aren't. But Finatwava, Uganda, we moved here one way or another, either through our parents or whatever. And the main reason is to have a better life. One of the quote unquote opportunities of this land is that it has so many possibilities to make money, right? Muntinova, Uganda, to have a chance at a better economy. And then you come to one of the best economies in the world with the world's greatest wealth building tool, which is the US stock market, and then you don't take advantage of it. Naye bantu bewadduka Uganda, abayaye be Uganda ne bajja wano ne bafinding, I'm not saying life insurance agents bayaye, by the way, but people find a way to make money on vulnerable populations, and immigrant community is very vulnerable. There's a reason Rachi Obuntunga Skota. Don't even get me started on Skota. But there's a reason Rachi is a scam. Nga Skota, there's another one for Bitcoin. Ziti targeted to immigrant communities specifically. Because we are a very vulnerable population, right? Like truly very, very vulnerable. Because we don't know information and we don't know what we don't know. I'm going to go back to Boston and use that as an example. I love Boston. Boston is home. But bw'ova Uganda n'ojja Boston obanga atuukidde e Uganda osigala mu bantu abamu be waalisanze e Uganda, right? So most of the information that you learn, your first 5 years in America will make or break you. And when I usually say that, I don't mean that in that sense, but I mean in different categories. Oyinza okujja Boston making us socially. You integrate very well, you make friends, you get married, you do whatever. And you're winning at life in that sense. Naye financially nga you're broken. Kubanga abantu b'olimu tebamanyi about the stock market, tebamanyi about the 401k, tebamanyi about all the things that we've talked about today. So they can't teach you what they don't know. Abatono ennyo b'owuliriza ne bakuguza IUL. So if that's the kind of environment that you're in, it's almost impossible to outgrow that environment financially. And that's why I love platforms like Alex and other people that do financial content, real financial content. Sibine by'okutunda nti click the link in bio and sign up with me, right? Nti abantu right now that are listening, buddy, all over the country, and they have access to this information that's opening up their eyes. I need you guys to question everything you hear on social media. I'll give you an example. The US has a website, Vegeta SEC. If you're a registered investment advisor, your name is on that website. Omuntu wajja n'akugamba gundi gula kino kwata investinge wano, you're well within your rights to ask them, hey, are you a registered financial individual, or are you educated in this? And I'm not saying but what I'm trying to say is people have ulterior motives for telling you the information they tell you, and you just need to be a bit more careful with your money. I was so hurt because so many people in our community lost their money. And I just kept thinking, I was like, if someone has $5,000 sitting around, save nankubira essimu nagamba mwana waliwo kano akantu ka skuuta teekamu ssente simanyi nga kagenda zikubisaamu by the end of the week biki. And I get that $5,000 from my DCU account nenziteeka mu scooter, and then I lose that money. Of course some people made money out of it, don't get me wrong, that's how a pyramid scheme works, right? Someone has to make money for other people to lose. But what I'm trying to say is if these people knew about proper financial literacy, they wouldn't even have that $5,000 laying around on their DCU account, right? If these people knew about all these better options, 5,000, maxing out my Roth IRA is $7,000. Synthesis in as already more Roth IRA. If they had proper financial literacy, they wouldn't fall victim for things like this. So I know I went on a tangent there, but this cause is very close to home because I love our people, I love our community, and I want for nothing less of all of us to be successful. So don't part with your money nti oli azze kuguza biki IUL tagikunyonyodde tetwaka nnyo. Don't fight so hard to be part of exclusive things, especially when people are playing on your emotions. I think this stuff should be factual. And the moment someone starts stringing mpu abagagga tebagitugamba bana abazungu bafuna sente zaabwe, that should be your kabulb to stop and be like, let me find out more information. Let me ask more questions, and maybe the person you're talking to sigoina no bibuuzo ebyo ebibuuzo. Ojewa sigenda kubagamba kutawanya Alex, but jangu ewa share mu DMs omugambe, hey, this, and I opened this up. I opened this platform. I was like, listen, in the Ugandan community in the US and Canada, if someone ever calls you and says, hey, I have an investment opportunity, before you do it, DM me. I'm not going to share my website here because that would be too much information. But DM me and say, hey, Sherry, what do you think about Scooter LLC Simayavichi? Onangami Nteke Musente. I will personally do the research for you for free. I will do the research. Where does the information? I'm not going to tell you what to do. I'm not in the business of telling people what to do. What information? This is what I found. This is what I didn't find. This is what this means. And then you do what you want after that. If you still want to take a sentence on scooter, go ahead. But yeah, that's my take on IULs. Like I said, these views are not Alex's. Obusungu mubulete wange. Everything I say with my chest. So Alex, kulikayo tumaliriza IUL tubale tugenda kwogera ku life insurance in general.
Sherry.
Wanji sebo.
I don't know. First time okuja ku live eno naye nsobola kubuuza like I don't know like oba basically muwa abantu what to buy and what not to buy. I don't know, but from my background, the certified market technician, analyzing stocks, background here, I mean, bonds, like anything markets, I do that. Night winner stocks and no, I mean, someone can buy and make incredible money. As long as someone amani stocks is in edge cutting technology, I mean, you can make a lot of money, like crazy money. Can quick example, for example, company all about SanDisk. SanDisk moving the 1700% in just 1 year. That is 17 times your money in 1 year. Western Digital, like a lot of companies, like depends. There's even data centers, artificial intelligence. Like right now, is it Mukubanti is renting a what data centers? They're making a lot of money, like crazy money.
I have a question.
So,
I'm going to do.
I'm only saying it because I just mentioned something, right? What's your end goal? And by the way, the only reason I'm doing this is because I want to practice what I preach, right? And right now, I just taught people to be careful about their sources and the intentions of the information they receive. So this is purely for practice.
No, I was going to say, if we enter into pure financial analysis, tetujja kwebaka abantu abamu yetsamu bas have a 6 a.m. kind of start day. Is it possible? I know I always promise that I will do it on a Saturday, then I forget it, I do it on a Sunday, and then Sherry is like, always tell me when these are to happen. I'm
Then
like,
you
I also
don't.
be tired. Then I wake up, I'm like, I have some energy. Let me just go live. And the community has been supportive. But I know when we plan it much better and we communicate it early, people will come in knowing we're going to talk about all the stocks
Yeah.
and equities. It's a conversation we can't break into mid live and for 20 minutes, 30 minutes. No, it's something which we need to give the weight it deserves. So mbadengenda kusaba. Okay, I think he has even got a
Yeah,
call.
I think he has dropped off, but
Yeah, manengenda saba. If we can do it like in a
Back,
week
I'm
or
back.
two, I'll communicate. I have your at least your handles. I'll communicate privately, and we get a synchronized time to J. Abantu bajenga basatu bana. Let them have a conversation of thoughts and mindset of discussion, not so much of sharing investment advisory online, but so much to guide the people on what to look out for and what not to look out for. Because as investment professionals, we know what we look out for. So why am I bringing it that way? Is right now, if we open it up, it's another 2 hours of just going into that, deep into that. Atisagala
In fact,
nyokuleka abantu halfway. Ate n'abana Uganda batandise ozuuka, so they are joining onto this one. So nsabye
Mr.
busabi.
Alex, Mr. Alex, not today, but waliwo group bagiyita Wall Street y'Abannayuganda. Simanyi oba Sherry kwali.
probably not. I'm not in any
Oh,
group.
okay. It's a very nice group. Like postingako new stocks is gonna call sent, and I have a very nice track record, like stocks demba wanga, like what to sell, what to buy, and it's been
Yeah.
so amazing.
I
Like they were
I think what I can say is, guys, if you're kulika abantu chikumi kweno live, I know based on the comments, most people are beginner investors, so they may not know. Reach out to Save oh 05 in his DMs if you have questions, or if you want to learn more about this between now and when Alex puts together
Yeah.
the live. Yeah, reach out to Save directly. Alex,
Kansabe,
otugoba sawa meka?
Rubaga like 10-15 minutes. Kansabe, because say I'm going to reach out to you, I'll try to find a way we can coordinate it. I'm not information is always information. We always caveat it, but information is always good information, and we discuss and people will learn. Similar people, I don't want even people to take us back to treasury bonds because it's always kakan the treasury bonds. So Kansabe, Sherry, I know maybe a few questions to conclude on that. On the maybe insurance, because the year on the stocks and the equities, especially the US market equities. I'll get the time, I'll communicate it privately, and we synchronize it, and we come and have an amazing conversation on it. It's something which I want to push so much forward in 2026.
kale bami mbalesaba mbasibule ngendako bakamuko naye nga we reach out.
Kale. Sherry maliriza zomaliriza mu dakika 10 but tusibule, then for you I know where to find you and we engage.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, well, let's close out life insurance. I know we were briefly talking about this. Glorious, I 100% agree with you. I'm hoping that people go with what I said in mind, to ask the right questions, do your research, and don't just trust anyone with your money. This is America. You can invest your money directly. It doesn't need to go through anyone. So even when you reach out to the people on this live or anything, I think everyone who has reached out to me knows the first thing I say is I don't want your money, and don't tell me anything about your money. Just ask your questions, Chivao. So just be careful. I talked a whole lot about life insurance, but while we close up, I wanted to give people the options. Okay, fine. IUL to Jikasuse Mukasasiro. What's my option? Because we still need life insurance. I'm quickly running through this. I know Alex Sencha so financially no kera komodimu, so I'll close out quickly. Just write down whatever stands out to you and reach out if you have questions. So remember, life insurance is a contract. At the end of the day, a contract where you pay premiums in exchange for a death benefit. Jibasa sura your beneficiaries when you pass away. That's the simplified way of life insurance. The main purpose is to protect your family or your dependents from financial hardships if you die. It's not an investment. Although some of them may have a cash value component, life insurance is not supposed to be an investment. It's simply a death benefit for the people you leave behind when you pass away. Different options. The first one, 80 term life insurance. And by the way, Nabale Uganda, I think this is the same across the board. So it's the same information, really. Term life insurance, 80, it provides coverage for a fixed period. So it could be 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. Meaning, bogena no funa life insurance policy for 20 years and you die after 18 years, your beneficiaries get a death benefit. If you outlive it and you die after 22 years, the policy expires. No one gets anything.
The beauty
Which
of that, Sherry, on that point, it's from a cost perspective, it's friendly. Abantu be Kampala tusiba tubagamba they should get that type of policy. Yes, if I don't die in 20 years, I lose everything. Yes, but you have been paying 50K. In the US, some of those policies are $30, $50, $70, as compared for Kampala people specifically, who end up buying those endowment policies. Today, I have a client of mine is in Canada, left Uganda 3 years ago. By the time he left Uganda, they had signed up on an endowment policy with one of the life insurance companies. Ngabasasura $300. Extremely painful that when we looked at it, if they continue for the next 10 years, they are making a compounded return of 3%. 3%. And this is someone who is 34. I told them, okay, probability-wise, I'm a statistician. The chances of you dying for you to have to enjoy this endowment benefit are minimal. Yet you are paying $300 a month. But if the importance was for your coverage of your life, which is a risk that we all work with every single day, you should have been getting a policy which is just 100,000 UGX, which is like $30, 10% of the other. And the other $290 knows investing in a more risk appealing up products for you, and you'd make more money. So the same exact mindset Sherry has talked about is the same exact mindset we have back home. The sales agents who are sometimes, because of the very nature of our economy, that it's hard to get jobs, so you end up finding a sales job and someone tells you every premium you bring in is what the money you make, so you end up overselling. I will call it overselling.
Yep, that's what we talked about.
Yeah, where you end up overselling and overpromising and under-communicating the actual product. Abantu bamaliza baguze nnyo endowment policies, yet as something like a term life is extremely important. For someone who is 35 and above, you get a 20-year term life, you're literally protected between 35 to 55. If you have young kids and you say, I'm 35, my youngest maybe is 1 year, at least you're like, until when I'm 55, if they're above 20, they can take care of themselves. At that point, I might cut off, you might lose. You will not get anything, but at least you have worked for 20 years when you know you are not looking over your shoulder because you know you have that protection. So it's the same exact process. A Kampala GLE, you will barely hear anyone talk about it because it's what? Mitwalo 5, mitwalo 7, mitwalo 8, $2, yet they will promote you, they will come for you and they give you an endowment of 5 years with a lot of surrender fees, with a lot of you fail to pay, you lose everything, and people batomere demwezo. But go on, Sherry.
Yeah. So term life, really, in short terms, that's what it is you pick the term. If you die before that term, your beneficiaries get a payout. If you don't die, nothing happens if you outlive it. It's best for, how it works, the premiums are fixed. So let's say you start out paying $30 a month. That's usually how much you pay for the entire 20 years. It doesn't change. It doesn't have any cash value, so it's purely for protection. It's not IUL. It's usually best for young families that have mortgage, kids, or debt. And then it's for people that need coverage only until retirement or any debt is gone. So, the good thing is that it's affordable compared to permanent life. It's simple. It's very easy to understand, right? But it also provides high coverage, usually for a low cost. Reason being because sometimes insurance companies bank on the fact that tipagenda, because they won't have to pay, right? The disadvantages, coverage ends. So let's say already 30 years old, you get a term life for 20 years, right? At 50, it expires and you're still alive. Negwao. Mwana wange okufuna life insurance policy at 50, premiums ozigenda banzibu, right? So now you have to get a policy again because let's say wazala leti or babana, you have special needs and it turns out omwana, you're going to have to take care of them all your life. Now you have to go get another policy and your premiums will be higher because you're older. Again, do what's best for you, but this is just the information about these policies. And then we have permanent life insurance. That's the other one. It provides coverage for life exactly as it sounds. As long as your premiums are paid, it also usually includes a cash value. Abadi mu US, I wouldn't get excited too much for that because the cash value is usually not as significant and it wa kukula. So again, think of life insurance as something that's good to leave with your beneficiaries when you die. Don't look at it as an investment. If you get a 401k IRAs at work at them, right? Permanent life, erina different types, right? Erina whole life insurance, whole life, eri lifetime coverage, fixed premium, guaranteed cash value. So cash value bajikugambirawo and it's guaranteed. So that one's good for estate planning, actually. A lot of people go for that. It's good for people who want lifetime coverage and, of course, that cash value. The disadvantages, it's expensive compared to term, but expensive is relative, right? Expensive dola ebisatu biyinza okuba bingi ku Alex naye nga gwe kugwe it's child's play. So again, do what's best for you. Then we have IUL. So again, and a joke. Okay, let's move on. Um, then we have variable life insurance. I also won't spend a lot of time on that because it's for people that are extremely high risk and sophisticated financially. It's very complex. So, not something that the typical person should go into. Long story short, togede all that kasasiro about IUL, me specifically, really. Alternative Jen Kulekeda is term life or permanent life insurance. Those are your only two options. And do you see how easy that was? I just explained that in under 5 minutes. IUL in Twali Dekumpi Dachika started to break down, and I didn't even go into the intricacies of an IUL. I just did it on a baseline level. So, life insurance can be simple if you let it. Just get either term life, olonde miaka jo, miaka abiri, miaka asatu, miaka kumi, and go with it. Osasula, just so you know, wojiwangala no outliving age emyaka, nothing happens. Bw'ofanga teginnatuuka ng'abaana bo babasasula ssente. It's that simple, by the way. Then permanent life, it's the opposite. Osasula premium, ka premium kayinza okubeera kangiko, and when you pass away, boolesa emabega nga bafuna ssente, and for some of them you have a guaranteed cash value. It's that simple. One thing I'll say as I close this out, if wababa tewali questions ndala, is just so you guys know, life insurance policies, you don't have to get through an agent. You don't have to go through an agent. The reason earlier when we talked about investing, Ningamba Fidelity, Vanguard, why I prefer those over the Robin Hoods and the Cash App and all those other fintech, smaller fintechs as Akaja, is that they're traditional in a way osolo kuba essimu n'oyogera n'omuntu without having to go through an agent. So company bagita Haven Life, HAVEN. I'm not affiliated with them and this is not a kalango. But Haven Life is backed by Mass Mutual. It lets you buy life insurance online, no agent. You go online, you type in Haven Life, you walk through the process, nebakubuza ebibuuzo. It's usually cheaper. There's no agent. It's quick. The policy in some cases can be approved within minutes. The pricing is transparent, right there. Obviously, the disadvantages will boli muntu ayagala buli kimu bakikunnyonnyole buli kimu bakikolere. There's no one to explain that to you because you're doing it yourself online. So you need to make sure you're reading the fine print. And then woba oyagala bi IUL biki ebyo tosobola bikola online, you need an agent. So long story short, si kubattira business baganda banga batunda insurance in Uganda, but people don't need you. They can just call these companies and talk to a licensed agent and get a life insurance policy. Lastly, gamba sibula. Guys, this is America. Uganda always ebuuzo bagamba oli wa kajanja. You have no idea how many times I've been accused of having kajanja. But in America, it actually makes you smart and careful to ask questions. If someone's ever telling you information, ti jangweno policy numbers zizino bichi 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 jangweno stock jobote kamu njana kuwereza WhatsApp message buli lunaku, feel free to say, hey, send me that information and I will look over it and get back to you. You do not have to make a decision immediately. You don't, right? So feel free to collect information. Ogende ngologize in ku shift yo mu kikadde ojeyo simu or looking it up all this information osome or reaching out to weebuuze before you make a decision. But anyway, thank you for being here today. Maliriza
Laji abuuziza tukyaliko bannange katubasiibule.
nyoddala.
I know I do not know when I do my spaces, but my goal is to try to do once every weekend, Saturday or Sundays for 2-3 hours, and we discuss abantu mwebali abagezi who will share things that will change many of us. So Monsasire mwebale nyo mwebale ddala. Allow me to say good night to you. Abali e Kampala, I know mwakatujo yininga. Have a good morning. Otherwise, thank you so much, Sherry. It's always an absolute pleasure to have you.
Thanks, Alex. Be safe. Have a great week.
Thank you so much. Have a good one, everyone.